Okay. Good evening. We are and welcome to Beaumont City Council meeting, both regular and closed session. Today is Tuesday, April 5th, 2016. And with that, I want to go ahead and call our closed session to order with roll call, please.
Councilmember Orozco?
Here.
Councilmember Knight?
Here.
Councilmember Condon?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Here.
Mayor Lada?
Here. And we'll do that call to order on closed session at 5:07. See, no actions or excused absences needed. We'll wait for Mr. Pinckney. I believe we have an adjustment to the closed session agenda that he needs to share with us.
So we have an item that, in my opinion, should be added as a late add to the agenda for the closed session. And that is the matter of Morgan versus the City of Beaumont, RIC 1118540. That is a case that was up on appeal, and there was a ruling that came down from the appellate court yesterday that was an adverse decision for the city. And so the council needs to meet in closed session with legal counsel in order to determine whether or not to seek review by the Supreme Court. And the city only has 10 calendar days to file its petition for review with the Supreme Court, and there's not another council meeting that's currently scheduled between now and that deadline. So under Government Code Section 54954.2b2, you can add an item to a regular council meeting. You can add it to the agenda as a late breaking item, provided the council, by a 2/3 vote, determines that there's an immediate need to take action, and the need for action came to the city's attention after the agenda was posted. So in order to add that item, there would have to be a vote by the council that there's an immediate need to take action, and that the matter came to the city's attention after the posting of the agenda. And the item that would be added to the closed session agenda would be as follows: conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D1, one case, Morgan versus City of Beaumont, case number RIC 1118540. And again, that would be for the purpose of the council deciding whether to seek review by the Supreme Court.
I move that we add the item as read by Mr. Pinckney.
I'll second.
And so you'll be voting on whether to add the item due to the fact that it requires immediate attention, and that the need for immediate attention came to the city's attention after the agenda was posted.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take roll call. Councilmember Orozco?
Aye.
Councilmember Knight?
Yes.
Councilmember Condon?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Yes.
Mayor Lada?
Aye. And motion carries. So, any no conflicts or disclosures to address? We'll go ahead and adjourn to closed session at 5:12.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'm going to read this evening, although we don't normally do this because it's in the agenda, but I'd like to this evening read the closed session items very quickly, and if you'll indulge me. First item will be the that's been added was the late add that I just went over. And then item A, conference with labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. And my understanding is that item's likely to be continued to the next regular meeting. B, personnel matters, evaluation of interim city manager pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B. C, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. And on item C, city designated representatives are Mayor Mike Laura and Councilmember Orozco. The unrepresented employee is the interim city manager. Item D, consideration of employment of the city manager pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B. Item E, conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4 and 2 or 3. And there will be 3 potential cases discussed. And then item F, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2 or 3, 1 potential case, Brookfield TRR versus City of Beaumont. G, conference with legal counsel, consideration of initiating potential litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4, 1 potential case, adverse to Heartland, rate performance bonds. And H, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, 1 case, Western Riverside Council of Governments versus City of Beaumont. That's it.
Thank you. Good evening. Sorry about that. Welcome to the regular session. We'll be coming out of closed session, or continuing our meeting in regular session at 6:38. And with that, I'll call regular session to order. Can I get roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Orozco.
Here.
Councilmember Knight.
Here.
Councilmember Condon.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem White.
Here.
Mayor Lara.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, would you like a report out from closed session?
If you would, please.
Okay. The council met in closed session. There was a late add item. The council added an item to the closed session agenda that was a late-breaking item pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2B2. And that item that was added by unanimous vote was conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, 1 case, Morgan versus City of Beaumont, case number RIC 1118540. And the reason that this was added as a late-breaking item is that it is a pending lawsuit that was up on appeal and that the city received yesterday an adverse decision. And so the city has 10 calendar days to decide whether to seek review by the Supreme Court, and they don't have a regular meeting or a meeting scheduled between now and the expiration of that deadline. So the council had to meet in closed session, or needs to meet in closed session to discuss whether or not it wishes to seek Supreme Court review of the appellate court's decision. Unfortunately, we did not get to that item in closed session, and so it's going to be continued to the end of the meeting, and then we will report out their decision on whether to seek Supreme Court review at the end of the meeting, and the public is entitled to remain until that report out occurs at the end of the meeting. The other item on closed session was item A, conference with labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. City designated representative, interim city manager Elizabeth Gibbs Tiago or her designee, and that item has been continued, or is being continued until the next meeting of the council. Item B, personnel matters, evaluation of interim city manager pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B, and that item, there was some discussion but no reportable action, and it's being continued to the end of the meeting this evening. Item C, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. City designated representatives, Mayor Mike Laura and Councilmember Orozco, unrepresented employee, interim city manager, and again, there was discussion but no final action, and the item is continued to the end of the meeting. Item D, consideration of employment of city manager pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B. There was no reportable action, and that item also is being continued to the end of the meeting. Item E, conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4 and 2 or 3. 3 potential cases. That item we didn't get to in closed session, so that also is being continued to the end of the meeting. Item F, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2 or 3. 1 potential case, Brookfield TRR LLC, adverse City of Beaumont regarding demand for release of performance bonds. There was no reportable action taken on that item. Item G, conference with legal counsel, consideration of initiating potential litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4. 1 potential case, adverse to Heartland LV regarding performance bonds. There was no reportable action taken on that item. And then lastly, item H, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. 1 case, Western Riverside Council of Governments v. City of Beaumont, case number RIC 536164. There was no reportable action taken on that item, and that's the report out from closed session.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pinckney. With that, no actions on excused absences.
Do we need to get an excused absence for the treasurer?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a motion to excuse the absence.
I move that we excuse her absence.
I second the motion.
Motion by White, second by Condon, to excuse the treasurer. Roll call. Councilmember Roscoe.
Aye.
Councilmember Knight.
Yes.
Councilmember Condon.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White.
Yes.
Mayor Lauder.
Yes. Bill, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We also have an invocation by Pastor Kerry Barnett.
Let's pray. Oh God, we thank you for our country. Oh, how we need your wisdom and guidance. Lord, it's because of you that we exist. This is your world. You have made us. Oh God, there's so many things around us that are dangerous and so many things that are unknown to us. We only know such a small portion of all of your universe. We pray for wisdom and guidance. You instructed us to pray for our leaders, and so we pray for Mayor Lara and the council. We pray that you would give them wisdom and guidance, and we pray that you would draw us closer to yourself, because if we are closer to our God and our Creator, then we'll be closer to each other. May, Lord, we do things your way, because you are great, almighty, and all-powerful. We pray for your blessing upon our city. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Matt. I'm going to steal it.
Okay.
Do we have any approvals or adjustments to the agenda?
No, Mayor.
Any conflicts of interest? Do we have any recognitions or announcements?
I have a conflict.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to recuse myself on item 3C. It's the employment contract for interim city manager.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, it'll take us to public comment period. Any one person may address City Council on any matter not on this agenda. If you wish to speak, please fill out a public comment form provided at the back and give it to the city clerk. There is a 3-minute limit on public comments. There will be no sharing or passing of time to another person. State law prohibits council from discussing or taking actions brought up by your comments. Mr. City Clerk, do we have any
Yes, we
requests to
do,
speak?
Mayor. Our first speaker is Steve Harrison.
Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and open up public comment at 6:46.
Mayor, council, staff. My name is Steve Harrison. I'm the director and mountain bike head coach for the mountain bike high school team. We're not here asking for any favors or anything. We just wanted to bring something positive to your council that's happening in your city. We started a team last year by the request of one of our senior speakers pretty soon, and he's known me for a long, long time. And I was coaching over at Yucaipa High School, and he wanted to start a high school mountain bike team. So I told him, find a coach. He said, well, we thought you would do that. And I told him, absolutely not. It's all these coaches' positions are volunteer. We don't get reimbursed for anything. After thinking about it for quite some time, I said, okay, this is something that needs to happen in Beaumont. So we started with 19 riders last year, both guy and gal riders, and we ended up being 9th in the state out of 68 schools. Wow. And it's not position that's important, it's the impact of this program on these kids that is important, and we just want to bring that to you. SoCal started in 2008, and prior to that it was founded by NICA, which is National Interscholastic Biking Association in Northern California, about 2001, I believe. So they had a little lead on us. But it filtered down to Southern California, and now we have about 70 schools, high schools and junior highs in the league. This has also reached into 17 other states. So it's a very positive program. What we teach is safe biking skills, respect for the trail, for the wilderness, for their parents, teachers, coaches, you name it. We also demand that they represent those entities well and represent themselves well in and among the other biking community. Trying to think what else to cover that. This year we started out with 7th place out of those same number of schools and have maintained that. But it's more important how the kids are responding to this. They're growing, they're maturing, their respect and their grade point average is coming up. All of them. We have 5 that have GPAs of 4.40 or higher. So I think the next one would be with the junior high coach, and I'll give my time up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. I appreciate that very much.
Next speaker, David Ogden.
Mayor, council, staff members, I'm David Aslan. I coach the middle school team, and we're the same with the high school. We're in our 2nd year. We started last year at San Gorgonio Middle School with 7 riders. The coach, Bill Harris, he moved into a different position in the school district. So I got a frantic call this summer that, hey, we really need somebody, or we may not be able to continue the program. So kind of like Steve, I got drawn into it because it's a really great program, and we've expanded from just SGMS to Mountain View and the charter school, the Charter Academy, and we went from 7 riders last year up to 14 this year, and we're still growing. And I can just say, echoing everything that Steve said about the program, just the level of confidence in the kids. He has the high school kids. I have kids from 11 to 13, almost 14. And every week their self-confidence, their abilities grow, and it's really an amazing program. And the nice thing, I've been involved in soccer and other sports, coaching, refereeing, and the nice thing about this is we encourage, and the whole family is able to participate. I have parents buying bicycles to go out riding, kids pushing their parents, hey, come out and ride, let's go to, over the summer, let's go mountain bike, coming out to coach. Like I said, I had coaches and a couple assistant coaches with soccer, but it was, very limited role. They're involved directly in it. And the long-term benefits of this, you can ride, there's people riding 100-mile century rides into their 80s and 90s. And I can say from a personal perspective, I'm diabetic and I have some other health concerns, and over the summer I had a kind of a downturn. My numbers went literally off the charts for my diabetes and cholesterol, and from October until now it's fully controlled, and it's something that these kids will learn to do. You know, that they'll have the ability, so they maybe never get into this position. But like I said, it's just a very positive experience for these kids to be able to ride, conquer, you know, literally conquer their fears on some of these things and participate as a team. So I met Dr. Condon at one of our fundraisers because we're self-funded, and she said, hey, you need to come out and let us know. And it is a very positive, very good program. And I'm just happy that we're able to have it in the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Did you bring any riders with you?
Yes, we do.
Can you have them stand up?
I think they have some brief. They just want to say what it means to them.
Oh, great.
As a group.
Hi, I'm Julian Mesa. I'm a 6th grader that goes to San Gregorio Middle School and attends the Beaumont mountain biking team program. I was just here to say how great it is. It gives us opportunities to go interact with kids that live from 30 minutes to 2 hours away from us. We just have fun and interact and help our community by, for example, we help Bogart Park. We clean up their trails and do stuff, and in exchange we ride there all the time. And it just teaches us how to set goals and how to work as a team and do a bunch of stuff all together. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
State your name if you would.
My name is Helena Fisher, and I'm a 7th grader at San Gregorio Middle School. And I've been doing this since it started 2 years, for 2 years. And it's an interesting experience.
Especially having to speak in front of them.
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
I like how you can exercise and you get to be healthier, because besides doing the mountain biking, you can eat healthier and you can feel more confident about yourself. That's all I got.
That's great.
State your name.
My name is Chris Aslan, and I'm a 7th grader at San Gregorio Middle School. And I am an active member of the middle school mountain bike team of Beaumont. I've been here since the first year, and I just wanted to do mountain biking to see how it was and see if I liked it, and I really like it. We do stuff for the community. We get to exercise. We are always like meeting people, and it's almost always a positive experience, because everyone that we meet on trails are super nice and they're super supportive. Like, go job, and we have the middle school and high school both race throughout the year, and high school does longer, harder courses, and we do courses that are not as hard, but they're still challenging. And races are a very positive experience for families, because you can, like, almost, like, everyone there is super nice and, like, just supportive. Like, when on the trail at races, when we're going up hills and stuff, people are like, go, you can do it, good job, good job. And, yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Julia Preciado. I'm a senior at Beaumont High School. This is my second year on the team, actually. And I just love the positive atmosphere of it. I've played several other sports, including volleyball and cross country and soccer. And none of them are as encouraging as mountain biking. In other sports, when you do something wrong, your coach yells at you and just expects you to figure out how to do it yourself. But in mountain biking, when you do something wrong, they actually encourage you, hey, instead of doing this, try this. And they teach you how to fix it and do it right, instead of yelling at you. And it's just a very positive atmosphere. And as a senior, you just kind of like want to just flow through, but this actually gives you like kind of like determination to keep going, because you still have to get good grades to be on the team. And it's just very good for the community. As they've mentioned, we do a lot of community service, and it opens a lot of doors for college as well, for scholarships, because you have your academics, you have athletics, and then on top of that you have community. So it's very beneficial for that as well. And it just, we want more kids on bikes, and it would be awesome to see the program expand and grow.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Eric Owens. I'm a senior at Beaumont High School, and I ride for the mountain bike team. I was actually the one who started it with my Uncle Steve, who's our head coach. Very thankful for that. The mountain bike community is basically a giant family. Everyone's supportive. We all come together. To echo off what one of our middle school riders was saying, if anybody's hurt or maybe a broken part on your bike, everyone pulls together. And I may not know somebody, they may live in Tehachapi per se, which is our next race. He broke something on his bike and I may have the part he needs. I'll give it to him because I know it'll just help our community grow. I know with our city's support we can grow and positively influence our community. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Sean Doro, and I've been on the mountain bike team for 2 years now, and I've been team captain for 2 years. And I'd just like to say that the mountain bike team gives us a great positive environment to expand as a team and individually. We learn to work together in a sport that seems to be individual, yet we still train together and make sure that we give each other bits of advice and just things to help boost each other's confidence. The environment's really great. Even in the races with our competition, we still work together, and it's just a great environment. We just have a lot of positivity, and it just really helps a lot. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Dennis Dixon, and I'm a senior at Beaumont High School, and this is my second year joining mountain biking. When I first joined, I didn't really know what I was going to do, and my grades weren't that good. I had I think a 1.8 GPA when I first started, and I ended up with a 2.5, and it was getting up. And because to be on the mountain bike team, you have to have a 2.0 or on any other sport at Beaumont High School. And so that really drove me to go get my grades up, and this year I have a 3.2 GPA.
Good job. Do you have any other speakers? Okay. My guess is training wheels are off for the mountain biking team. Is that trails aren't wide enough for those yet? Okay. Well, thank you very much. We do appreciate that. We do appreciate the commitment from the coaches, and I know that there's a commitment from the kids, and you're well-spoken, and you represent the city well. Thank you very much for that.
Next speaker, where we go? Ron Roy.
Okay, that's a very tough act to follow, and I was hoping they could do my presentation for me. So, but I'm sort of in the weeds on some issues. let me start with, on April 19th, there's going to be a council meeting on tentative tract map 36783. That's 14 acres next to Palmer Park. For debate whether it should be a community facility with park library. Developer has submitted a tract map. I'm just pestering you because if I showed you the map, and on February 16th, the map was not included in the agenda. So the people of Fairway Canyon haven't even seen the map. I had to get the planning department to give me a PDF of this, and just to show you how small it is. There's no way you can see this. So I'm asking that the planning department go back to the February 16th agenda and give us a PDF that's viewable. You know, you can expand it on their computer screens. There's no way we can see what the lot sizes are. So I appreciate that. The next thing is, okay, I'm going to talk about, I was watching the council meeting. Again, it's great that we can see you now on YouTube and this sort of thing, but I was concerned over the extinguishment of, I think it was 91B, and then they want to create 20161. And what I was concerned about is that, I'm just telling you what I'm seeing, is that certain council members are tending to be too deferential to experts, and it's really troubling to me. I talked to some of my friends about it. I do appreciate the council members where they do get the counsel of expert. It can be the bond counsel, etc. But they really come up with their own independent deliberation. You can see when they're deliberating with in discussions, they're coming up with an independent. I am concerned when I just hear an answer like, well, do you think it's legal? Or do you think it's okay? It's a complete absolution of their responsibility to give us an independent take on, wait a second, I consider this, but I feel it's this way. So please, we need to, I think we need more discipline. We need more research when you do that. Okay. The other thing has to do with conflict of interest bond counsels. Basically, their vested interest is to see that bonds are approved. So why would you ask a bond counsel if they should approve a bond? They're going to say yes, because that's what they're paid to do. So, you know, I appreciate that. Okay, and then I have 20 seconds again, and I hope that you continue the discussion of creating minimum lot sizes of 8,000 square feet is my recommendation. The more you discuss it, the better. I really appreciate your talking about, let's up the minimum lot sizes in our city to avoid blight, create better quality, and aesthetics. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments.
Next speaker, Judy Bingham.
Judy Bingham, 115 Minnesota. I'm so happy that finally a qualified employee, our new Public Works Director, City Engineer, will be representing the city at the Water Master meeting tomorrow. And I am anxiously awaiting an honest evaluation on the state of the 1929 sewer plant that has cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars with nothing much to show for it. At the March 28th council meeting, Brian, I believe was his name, of Webb and Associates, asked Hope Smythe from the Santa Ana Regional Water Quality Control Board about getting a state injunction on the issuance of building permits because the city's sewer is already at capacity. Smythe replied that the city of Beaumont was in violation of their permit requirement. So why didn't the water board notify the city? They did. I submitted a public records request for all documents and correspondence between the city and the Regional Water Quality Control Board. And knowing how long it takes to get public records from Beaumont, I submitted the same request to the regional board and received a letter, among others, dated November the 20th, and I'm hoping that council got this also. They sent a notification to the city, but it was addressed to Kyle Warsinski and Deepak Morjani. Warsinski never notified council because essentially he still works for Urban Logic. Even the sewer workshop Even at the sewer workshop, the City Council's trusted staff failed to mention the board's letter regarding sewer capacity. Apparently, the Water Board knows that Morjani is still controlling the sewer plant. Kyle stated Morjani resigned on March the 31st, 2015. But he could not produce a resignation notice. And Kieran McKieran of Urban Logic stated on April 21st, the day before the FBI raids, that Morjani was still working at the city through Urban Logic. Morjani is still listed as a principal of Urban Logic. It is illegal for the city to issue building permits without the ability to provide infrastructure. But Beaumont doesn't care if it's illegal or the irreparable harm they are inflicting on the city. Council trusts their staff. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Next speaker, Dan Hughes.
Mayor, Council, my name is Dan Hughes. I'm the chairman of the board for Beaumont Cherry Valley Recreation Park District. I'm up here today to thank you for last week. As you all know, we had our Vietnam Veterans Day last week. It was attended very well. We had federal officials, state officials, county officials, and of course the City of Banning and Beaumont both well represented. I would like to thank you on behalf of the Park District for coming out to this memorable event to these Vietnam veterans. And for the first time in 8 years, at that event, we actually had 3 veterans speak, which has never happened before that we've had it. So I think the Veterans Day is growing. We appreciate you guys coming out. Hope that you will continue to come out. And we look forward to our continued working together on these different events that we put on. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No further speakers, Mayor.
So with that, I will close public comment at 7:08. And that'll bring us to council reports. Councilmember Roscoe?
Mayor, I wanted to give an opportunity for some of the public members to
Okay, thank you.
leave. No, they don't want to hear my report, so. Or our reports. Okay. Yeah, just a couple comments. First of all, I wanted to thank, I should have thanked them before they left, but I wanted to thank the Beaumont Mountain Bike Club. I think that was a wonderful presentation. You kind of see them around with their shirts, especially at the park here at Noble Creek. I like riding, that's for sure. I think that's a very encouraging, healthy lifestyle that we're teaching our young generation here in this community. I grew up for a while in Montana, and that was a big sport out there. And I know up north in the East Coast, it's the mountain bike circuit is huge. It is huge. So I'd like to see that happening out here. A couple things happened last time we kind of came together, and that was one, the Aldi grand opening here in Beaumont. We had a wonderful opportunity to welcome a new grocery chain here in Beaumont that has already made an impact into the community. I want to welcome them here. A lot of their employees that I've spoken to are local employees, and so that was nice to see as well. I got an opportunity to take my son and my wife there to kind of see the grand opening and shop the first day, spend some money there, and so that was great. On attached to that note, the Economic Development Committee, I wanted to thank my colleagues for allowing myself and Dr. Condon to continue on with that committee. I think it's going to be a key and crucial component, and what you're going to be hearing tonight, kind of getting back into out of insolvency and into an opportunity for us to grow and continue to move forward. I also wanted to appreciate for staff and Brian from Webb & Associates gave us the wastewater workshop. It was very good information and an opportunity for council to discuss some things that we knew and what we didn't know moving forward. There was a couple of things I wish would have spoken more about and talked about, but I know that now council has an idea on what we want to see moving forward. And on that note, I also was able to get an opportunity that same week to go to a water workshop out in Temecula. It was a small group of people, I would say, council members, water experts, kind of talk about the water issue here in Southern California and development, and that was kind of tied to economic development. A lot of things I would like to share. I don't think I have the opportunity or time to do that now, so I can share that later. And I think that was about it. Oh, yes, one more note before I forget. Yesterday, it was yesterday, right? Monday.
Yes.
We had about a 30-minute meeting with our busy congressman to discuss with him, and I had invited council to go, and it was myself and Dr. Condon, I know she's going to probably share some notes as well, and our city treasurer. We had an opportunity to meet with them, to discuss with them some really important issues regarding our region. The three biggest areas was, one, economic development within our region, especially in our city, for things to come and where he can assist and support us in that. Two is transportation, which I think it goes hand to hand. And there were some particular regional needs that I believe that will benefit not just Beaumont, but Banning and our entire region, which had to do with the regional post office, which is something that we need in this community down the road. So.
Thank you. Councilmember Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. I'll start out with the Veterans, Vietnam Veterans Day. I have been for many years at that. I missed just last year, but I also was at, when we went to March Air Force Base, very touching. But this year, and I want to, the veterans that spoke, that's the first time I've seen that, and it was disturbing and just heartache there, and to welcome them so many years later, but to see them speak, and they were very graphic in some of their stories, and I just want to, if any of you next year go and hear our veterans, and hopefully they will continue this on. And it was the first time it was inside, and maybe that helped some. So phenomenal event, and thank you to the Parks District, Mr. Hughes. I attended with the League of Cities. It was called Lobbying 101, and it was for a half a day, and it was everything you never wanted to know about lobbying, basically. But it was lengthy. I did learn a lot, but I think that as far as a city, we don't have lobbyists right now, and as our finances get better, there are issues where we do need lobbyists, and we need to know how to deal with them and work with them better. And as a council, I know I have been doing some, I called State Senator Roth this last week on an issue with local control of our police. It was with a homeless issue where they haven't got the bill right, and a lot of times they want to push things on cities that they shouldn't, and we really need our voices to be heard, especially from down here. There are a lot of voices up there, but if we can really start doing that and getting a little more involved there. I was at Aldi opening. It was a blast, a lot of fun. I didn't know what to expect. It's different, and they have a lot of nice products. So try it out. I actually snuck in at night and saw Councilman White, or Mayor Pro Tem White. Met him in there. We were checking out to see if people were in there. Very busy. I was surprised. And then there is another issue, and it has to do with our Western Riverside County Multiple Species Habitat Conservation Plan. Huge mouthful. The fees are going up, and so if anyone out there is interested in that sort of thing, their fees are going up. And then I was involved in a major discussion where this Joint Powers is trying to take away local authority from our governments, and basically on this multiple species habitat plan, they want to have everything sent through them, and this has to do with something that we use called fee credits. And the authority, they want us to give our authority to them, plus this will cost us more in fees, and it will hold things up maybe 3 to 5 months more. This is important to us on our fee credit issues, and maybe our attorney can weigh in this next week, just a little, take a look at it. But it is a big deal, because when we have people, developers or someone come in, the cost could be phenomenal too, in between $5,000 and $10,000. So basically, we do not want to give away our local authority in our cities. And there were, out of the 18 cities there were about 3 that voted for it. I was one of the dissenting voices. I voted against it. And they're going to bring it back and look for maybe land use. Just, there's a reporting issue. And all this came out of a reporting issue. So we really, in our governments, don't need to do that. So that's where I was. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Condon.
Thank you. I appreciated that report, Councilwoman Knight, especially about the Veterans event. I was there myself, and I went away feeling very humbled and very touched, and those gentlemen are still on my heart, and some of the things that they had to say. And I was very pleased to be able to meet a lot of you that I see out in the audience at that event that I hadn't had the opportunity to meet as yet. Also, I had the honor of representing the council at the Cesar Chavez event in Banning. And I must tell you, we sang and we danced and we just had a great time celebrating a man who walked through our lives. And as I said, often giants walk through our lives and we don't even realize it when it's happening. And we had the opportunity that evening to celebrate some of the giants from Beaumont and Banning that are in our lives, and very well-deserved certificates of appreciation from our city were handed out to these individuals, thanking them for the contributions that they had made to the city, and I made some wonderful new friends at this event. Just several days ago, I had an opportunity to meet with former Majority Leader of the Senate of California, Senator Richard Polanco, and we talked for an extensive period of time, actually most of the day. He is working as a lobbyist now, as well as other endeavors, but he was giving me some of the ideas that he has accumulated really from across the nation of the ways communities have cut their power costs, have managed their sewer and water facilities, and I just really felt privileged to be sitting at the feet, so to speak, and listening to the master speak, because he's had such wide experience. And I asked him if perhaps one day he would come to Beaumont and chat with us about some of those really great technology breakthroughs that some cities are using to make themselves more efficient and more effective cities. Also, we, yesterday, as Councilor, I'm promoting you, Councilman Roscoe and the Treasurer Nancy Carroll and I went to see the Congressman, and I really felt that we left an impression. He seemed to be very interested in what was going on in Beaumont, and that we are becoming a Renaissance city, and that we are really experiencing a new birth, and we're working very hard to leave our troubles behind us and become a very positive city. So I feel like that we did leave that impression for him to take back to Washington. So thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem White.
I just have one thing to report. I do not have any of the documents for tonight's meeting on my machine. Yeah, so if you could just give me a thumb drive, I can work off of that. That's all I have to report.
Thumb drive.
Quickly, I had the opportunity to see the Camp Brookside Talent Show. I was a judge with Chief Talese as well as Fire Chief Smith, who both did an excellent job. Thanks for carrying me. It's great to watch the kids participate in things like this, and it was a really nice evening. Also, the Parks District Spring Fling was the 25th Saturday. That was a very large event. I hadn't been there in a couple of years, and it has grown and was quite fun. So it was a great event. Next time you get a chance to get out there, you need to check it out. There were a number of vendors. They had a portable wood-burning stove for pizza. It was pretty amazing. So, and that's all I have. So with that, we'll go to our action items, public hearing requests. Item 3A, Independent Accounting Fund Reconciliation Services, CFD, and Mitigation Fund Status Report.
Thank you, Mayor. Urban Futures Incorporated CEO Michael Bush is here. This is the 5th monthly update from Urban Futures in their efforts to reconcile the CFD and the mitigation funds. And so I'd like to invite Michael or David or both, David, up to give council a report.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Like Elizabeth said, I'm David Saris with Urban Futures, here to present the 5th update to the CFD and mitigation fee reconciliation project. Do we have the PowerPoint? Or it wasn't? You don't have it? All right. It's okay. The same stuff's in this other packet. The other stuff, so it's okay. Oh, there it is. For this slide was the project budget. We made some adjustments to the project budget. The total hours are the same, but as we've gone through this, we originally had budgeted 1,950 hours to complete the basic CFD reconciliation part. We feel we're not going to need that complete amount of time. We feel that we're going to be done with the basic CFD reconciliation by the end of next month. So if you see on here, there's 550 excess hours that we're planning to use to go beyond the original scope of the contract, which was just to review the reconciliations and invoices and comparing them to the trustee statements. I feel that we're going to need to go through the city's other documentations, capital project files, to determine exactly what was spent. And also, we added the AB 600 report. We separated the hours on this budget as well. Let's see. slide. As we said, we are within budget and on time. And again, we'd like to use those available excess hours to complete the reconciliation through the capital project files within the city if we can find them. Also, there's the number for the amount invoiced through today, which includes work up to January 31st. An update for the planning section. As last time when I was here, we were still waiting for the files from Union Bank. Those files have been received. The city sent a copy service to Union Bank's LA office on March 7th and copied the files. Those files were provided to us on March 17th. Upon reviewing the files, there's around 14,000 pages of documentation to go through. At this time, we can't say equivocally that we have everything we need, but as we've gone through the documents we have looked through, we have noted that missing requisitions and invoices were located in those files. We believe we'll have the complete reconciliation or the complete review of those files by the end of next month, so we'll be able to report that to you guys. The city also made a request to BNY Mellon for requisitions for the 93 sewer, 96A, and a part of the 1994 AB bonds on March 4th. Those requisitions have been located, and they're in the process of being scanned at the city attorney's office, and they believe that those will be available Friday. Is that the timeline? Is it this Friday?
Yes, we believe they basically just came to us in boxes, and so we've organized them by bond issuance, and then we're scanning them, we'll redact them, and then get them out. And we'll redact any confidential account numbers. And we believe that'll be done by about Monday at the latest.
Okay. Activity completed during the last reporting period, completed reconciliation of the 2004 A bond, 2004 B bond, 2005 B bond, 2006 bond, A and B bonds, the 2009 A bond, and also the 2013 A and B, which isn't on here because this was prepared last week and published last week. We also, the balance of the reconciliation activities will take place in April. Like I said before, we plan on finishing that basic portion of it, and we'll be able to present a draft report to city management for their review. This is a list of the bonds and the status of each of the bonds. So, as you see, we have obviously a majority of the ones completed. But since we've just received the Union Bank documents, now we can go back and fill in any missing invoices or requisitions that we didn't have before. So, but there are several bonds that still need to be completed that haven't been completely reviewed. So. As far as the mitigation fee reconciliation portion of our project, we feel that the 2015 mitigation fee expenditures are 90% complete. We actually plan on being completed with those by the end of this week as well. So, and there's also the reconciliation of the expenditures for 14 and 13 were done as of the last period as well. And then the AB 1600 report is also being drafted with the information from the mitigation fee review. We also were asked to expand our original scope and test the accuracy of the fees applied to the items that we've tested. So we'll go back and review the ordinances and make sure the fees that were being charged correctly on a, like I said, on a test basis. Monthly updates. We provided City Council an update last month. We held a phone conference with the interim city manager to update her on the status of the project, and we continue to coordinate the reconciliation work with the city's budget process and the workout plan. Items that we would like to complete before the next reporting period is a complete review of the documents received from Union Bank to determine the completeness of them. If there's any holes missing, then I guess we'll have to go back to the city attorney, and if we have to subpoena them, then we will. We also need to do a complete review of the documents received from BNY Mellon when we receive them, like the city attorney said, hopefully this week. And then complete the reconciliation of the outstanding bonds still, the 93, 96A, 2000, 2002A, 2003A, 2003B, and the 2015 bonds. We'll prepare a draft for city manager's review of the CFD reconciliation, and then we'll complete the CFD, or the mitigation fee reconciliation as well. We'll prepare a project status update for council for the May 3rd meeting, and we will present city management with the project status the week of April 5th. Issues to report. Continued problems determining project specifics funded through CFD monies due to vague vendor or city invoices. Like we said last council meeting, there were some invoices that were very specific as to what projects were completed. They would specify just transportation facilities or items of that nature, so we're going to have to dig deeper to figure out exactly what items fall underneath those different categories. I know the city adopted a resolution on March 15th authorizing the issuance of a subpoena to the former principals at Urban Logic to provide other documentation to aid in our reconciliation efforts. If the city records aren't good enough for us, and I guess we'll have to pursue that angle as well. Questions?
Do we have any questions from council? Councilmember Condon?
I just have one. In going through these documents, who was authorized to sign for the city to withdraw this bond money for use?
Alan Kapanikis.
Is that the sole signature that you're finding?
Correct, on the initial letterhead for the requisition, and then there's also another page within the requisition that has a signature, an authorized city signature.
Thank you.
There's also department head signatures, like Public Works and whatnot, just authorizing or reviewing the invoices behind the requisition as well.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Yeah, I have some questions. If we look at the spreadsheet of the bonds, so you said that this was prepared for the agenda last week, and that some of those ones I think listed were 2004 A, B, and C that are now completed. I want to understand better what your status reports mean here. So my first question is, and you probably answered this earlier, and I apologize if you've already mentioned this before, but why did we skip 93 sewer, 94 AB, 96A, and start with the other ones?
So 93, we never had those requisitions. We still don't. Those are BNY Mellons, so hopefully we get those as of Friday.
Okay.
94 is complete, but we noted that there was missing requisitions and invoices, and that's where Union Bank's files will hopefully close the gap. As far as 96, again, 96 we didn't have anything.
For Mellon.
So it was a matter of reviewing what we had versus what the city's documentation had. So we couldn't start in chronological order. It was a matter of just the documents that we had to work with, and we completed what we had.
So what does it mean when you, I don't see anything on here that is completed without the following comment, will review Union Banks for any noted missing requisition or invoices. So does that mean, because you don't have any of them that say just completed, that you believe we're missing requisitions or invoices for every one of those items?
So within the reconciliation process, there's different accounts for each bond. For instance, a construction account where most of the money remains. There's also usually an admin account, cost of issuance account, bond expense accounts. So most of the bonds that we reviewed before, we did not have requisitions for those other accounts, the non-construction accounts, and so that's why those notes say, we had completed these with what we had before. Now that we have more information, we're going to review and make sure we have those documents to complete those accounts to reconcile as well. And like I said before, from what we have done and will look through, it seems that we have most of those documents to complete our process.
Okay, I have a copy of the files that we got from Union Bank, and it was somewhat chronological by the bonds. But what was really nice about what we were given was it was a digital file that I could go in and search. Don't most of the documents reference a bond, like 2005C, 2005A?
Yes, they do.
And wouldn't you be able to search on that and find all the ones related to those?
Yes.
And you've done that, and we're still not sure that we have everything? First of all, let me start by saying I'm not putting any blame on you. I'm just trying to get an understanding, because we've been going around and around and around with Union Bank for at least a year now.
Correct.
And we subpoenaed them, and it seems like we're still going round and round with them. And in the next report that Webb and Associates is going to make, there's more evidence of that. So I'm trying to get an understanding of where these are, you know, and what we have and what we don't have. I mean, we have in a couple workshops and in the last council meeting, we keep referencing and telling the people we don't know where the money's gone, but we're going to find out, and we're going to find out by the beginning of April. And now we're pushing this to the beginning of May. So I'm trying to get an understanding of how much cooperation we did get from Union Bank, and if there's still, in your guys' mind, a lot of documents that we still need to get from them.
From what I have reviewed for the ones that I knew were missing files, I have, so specifically, that's 2013 A and B, where the city had zero documentation. When I reviewed those, the items that we were missing were included in that package.
Okay.
And going through the other files, again, we're in the process of doing that. So
But it says no requisitions for those. Does that mean that there were no?
Correct. In the beginning of our process, we had zero documentation to work with.
Okay, so now you're saying that you do have some documents that show requisitions for 2000,
Correct.
for
Yes,
13A and 13B?
So in one of the slides, I did not include that those tasks were finished because I completed those tasks, or those bonds, at the end of last week and this week, since our status meeting and the day we had to have this published was a week and a half ago.
I require a week ahead of time.
Yeah, so sometimes there's going to be a little lag between what's actually completed and what's...
That's why this back and forth is very helpful.
So again, I can't think of the specific date, so when we got the documents on March 17th, we met, or we gave you the final that Monday, so this was as of that Monday, so there's been a week to review that. So I didn't want to put something on here that wasn't true, correct? So I left these and say that we have completed our initial review of them. We're going back to make sure that if there was any missing items, it will be there, and if they're not, then we'll have to pursue.
Okay, and I have exceeded my 5 minutes, and if no one else has any other questions, I have some more, but I will take a break and let someone else have the floor.
Go ahead.
Still my floor.
Sure, still your floor, sir.
Okay, so the questions I have now center around the question that Dr. Condon brought up, and that's the signatures. So are you getting an idea that the signatures, you're saying on the letter that goes with the requisition documentation to the bank, the letter is signed by Mr. Kapanikis?
Correct. And initially, I know Elizabeth had asked us to review that and also add that to part of our project. So we're going back through the ones that we had initially completed to do that process as well. So.
Okay. And as far as you can tell, did we have any requisitions at all after Mr. Kapanikis left or went on administrative leave? In other words, are there anyone else signing the letters to?
So, for I think the latest ones that we reviewed were 2013, right? So the 2015s haven't reviewed yet. So if his signatures shouldn't be on there, then we'll note that they're.
And if you don't know now, but if you could report back to us when the Mr. Morjani, what his window of signatures were, when he stopped signing, I'd like to know that as well. another question that came up here, it's probably for you, regarding the subpoena of the other principals. Are you going to provide us a report on that in your report, or can you give us an update what happened there?
I can do that now, if you'd like, since it relates to the report that's being given. As Mr. Saris mentioned, we sent the subpoena that was authorized by the council to BNY Mellon, and they were cooperative, and we received the documents today, and I already have a team of people going through, organizing them. We're going to put them in digital format, in a searchable format, and then we'll redact them and get them over. So we're getting it done as quickly as we
When
possibly
you say a
can.
team, is that a team of city staff? Or
No, it's my office.
Okay.
Because
thank you.
Because they are not currently public records, and they should not be produced to the public until the confidential, constitutionally protected information is redacted from them.
Okay.
And so we're going to make sure that's done, and we haven't redacted any substantive information, just confidential account numbers. And we're getting that done as quick as we can. The next item was we also notified the Steiner Group that we wanted documents from them. And they are sending us a thumb drive with documents that they have in their files, because the prior council had voted to approve a contract with them. I went back and looked at the minutes and did retain them to do some work. And so to aid in this investigation that the council's doing into how bond proceeds were spent and the work that Urban Futures is doing for the council, we requested that Steiner Group produce any documents they have, and I should have a thumb drive very shortly. I was glad to get it in digital format. BNY Mellon said all they had were hard copy documents, that these were old archive documents, and so we will digitize them, but the other documents from Steiner will get in digital format. And then lastly, we successfully served the subpoena on Dave Dillon. I spoke to his attorney. He agreed to accept service of the subpoena for his client, and I have spoken to his attorney, and what he's indicated, both verbally and otherwise, is that his client had all his computers confiscated by the district attorney's office, and he doesn't have them, and he believes that he doesn't have any documents. That whatever he had was taken by the DA and hasn't been returned. So, and we do know that the district attorney's office did serve a search warrant and take documents. Whether he has anything or not, I can't verify, but that's the position his attorney's taken. So,
but didn't our subpoena request that he and Mr. Morjani appear to answer questions from us? If that's the inclination of the council, that you'd like those principles of urban logic to come here and appear and testify, we can push that issue. I definitely would like that to happen.
Okay. All right.
That's all I had.
So that's the report in terms of obtaining documents.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had.
Do we have any speakers on this item?
Yes, we do, Mayor.
Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and open up public comment at 7:45.
First speaker, Dwayne Burke.
Mayor, members of the council, my name is Dwayne Burke. I'm the general manager for the Beaumont Cherry Valley Recreation and Park District. And on March 1st, I talked about this item. What I asked from you all was a snapshot, if you remember, and I think Councilmember White, you said, can anybody answer this question? And so here we are a month later, and I'm asking the question again. Is there a snapshot of money that may or may not be collected on behalf of the city that would be owed to the district? So, with that said, that's my simple question to it all. Elizabeth gave me some good information for me today to go through, but it was here tonight when I got here. I have a couple questions regarding reconciliation of your bonds versus you seem to be focusing on all the houses that were built in development, but you collected mitigation fees from individual homes that got built outside the development world. Where is that money? And are you reconciling that number? So I don't want to give tasks for your consultants to work on, but I think there might be some leakage there if you're just focusing on just that item. My specific question I pulled off on your website today is Schedule A of your fees. And item 6 from January 1st, 2013, number 5, regional park fee, $620. July 1st, number 5, regional park fee, $708. Ultimately, what you adopted, which no one could give me that approval that you've done it, but you adopted a CPI. So are we a percentage of that regional park fee? And what is the snapshot of that regional park fee? That's all I'm asking. Is it 20% or is it 0? The reason why I ask on behalf of we're partners in this. We build quality of life things regarding parks. We don't collect a fee. So I've been tasked by my board to adopt a fee. But the building industry will be in here and at our meetings if I try to move forward with a fee. Because they're going to say, you already collected it. So let Beaumont get it for you. As you reconcile 13, 14, and 15, if there's money allotted to the district, and it is 20%, we would love to take it. Cash, but anyway, I'm trying to put some humor. Anyway, I look forward to working with you on it. I just want to tell you the reason why I'm standing before you. And the reason why it does kind of hinder me a little bit because I can't move forward with what I've been tasked to do by my board. So you can see my hurdle. And if we are partners and you go through your next fee study, maybe we do sit at the table together and identify what that is and what that percentage is. So I don't have to do an independent fee study by myself. So I offer that to you also. So with that, I look forward to that snapshot maybe in the May meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Mayor Laura, may I ask Mr. Berkman some questions?
Sure.
You didn't tell me your name, and
Dwayne.
Give me your last name.
Burke.
Burke, okay. I knew that. Sorry about that.
I didn't change it in
I know.
I'm not AKA anything else.
Okay.
Although when I was Beaumont, it was White Wonder of Thunder, but it's another story.
It has been my experience mainly recently that as we start talking about some of these other reconciliations we're doing, that we're struggling, as you know, from the last item or this item of getting the actual documentation. And I'm hearing from developers that have their own documentation showing some of that information that we're looking for, and I know that we're actively working with them. Does the park district have any of that kind of information that would be helpful for us?
Great question, because I've been with the district for 8 months, and so I've been digging through all of our files, and I can't find anything except what I found on the website. Meeting with the developers myself, finding out some of them have already prepaid some mitigation fees that I don't know that included the park or not, or one thing that developers have shared with me is that they've mitigated their park fees through their own development,
right? Through
their pocket parks or whatever else. So I don't know those development agreements. I haven't seen those, but some of them feel they've already paid through mitigation through their own development. So if that's the case, maybe you didn't collect a fee. But yet I'm thinking, or our board thinks there's a percentage of that to us. So we don't have anything on record as it relates for us. It's just kind of what I've gathered from here and what I've worked with the development community. And I am reaching out to every developer that's out there.
Now, you didn't ever hire Mr. Bill Alward as your accounting or finance director, did you?
Who is he?
Okay. So my question to you is, but over the years, wouldn't you have received payments from the city indicating, so that we could sort of reverse engineer that and figure out?
Great question. Great. I'd love to answer that. The question is, we have received money from the city, but it's a very unique way that it was done. Everything I can find on file is that it was paid through redevelopment agency. And I also found in your CFD that you allocated money under the CFD side. But my argument would be is AB 1600 is a restricted fund. And whether or not we are created in the nexus of the CFD and/or redevelopment, we, as a park district, gave up our pass-through money for redevelopment. So we would be entitled to redevelopment money anyway, at the leisure of the council. So whatever redevelopment money we did receive is acceptable because you created the nexus to allow the park to be funded. But AB 1600 is restricted.
And AB 1600, help me remember all these.
AB 1600 is task 3 for these people. That's what I'm actually speaking of. And under the development impact fee, you could either credit the fee through building the park, fee credit like you do, or you give us the cash and we build what's on the nexus.
Okay.
If I'm going to build a swing set, I need that fee, I'm going to build it, or a park. So that's why my point is that the park district did receive redevelopment money. I can't find where you ever gave us CFD money, but I can see it in your sheet that you listed Noble Creek. So I'm thinking that's something they're going to reconcile through and let us know.
Okay.
But I'm really speaking specifically to AB 1600. Also, just so you know, I'm speaking to it because it falls under Quimby for us also. So we collect the Quimby fee out of the county, and they got that.
What's Quimby? I'm sorry.
Okay, Quimby fee is out of the Riverside County, and it is a development fee from the county. It's called the Quimby Act.
Okay.
So our Nexus study to collect developer fee from the county has to be coalesced with the development we're going to do on our park.
Okay.
Or the city. I can't have two different fees.
Got it.
Thank you very much, sir.
One last question. Have you brought these concerns about the redevelopment funding? I know you've only been there 8 months, but have you brought, I don't know that I have seen any requests from the Park District over the few years that I've been following it to be part of the redevelopment process, the wind down of the redevelopment agency?
I was really kind of nervous at first because of my previous job. I worked with the DOF regarding audits as it relates to how we spent the money. And the money was not given directly to the Park District. It was ran through the city here, through your finance department.
Okay.
So we really never touched the money. The project was built, the money was paid through redevelopment money, from what I can see.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any additional speakers?
No, Mayor.
I'm going to go ahead and close public.
What? Wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry, Judy. Yes. Judy Bingham.
Thank you.
Judy Bingham, 115 Minnesota.
Hold it. Changes. Right.
A public records request was filed for the detailed report of the payroll listed on Urban Future's monthly report and should be included with their invoices. The Office of the City Clerk claims to need clarity. It's right there on page 2 of Urban Future's report. Urban Futures now claims to have spent a total of 1,752 hours working to reconcile Beaumont CFDs. Urban Futures claims to have worked 446 hours in the last month. But what did they do? Page 3 of Urban Futures report states, Urban Futures is in the process of reviewing the 14,466 pages of documents and determining the completeness of them. UFI can report that some of the missing requisitions and invoices were noted in our reconciliation process have been located in these files. I told you, Urban Futures, at the March 22nd council meeting that Libby had already reconciled all the requisitions released. It shouldn't take Urban Futures more than 300 hours total. But a bigger question is, why didn't Urban Futures report that the documents received from Pinckney were not trustee-generated documents? Urban Futures should know that the bond trustee produces their own record of the bonds. Bond fund accounts are the trustee's money trail.
Thank you for your comments.
No further speakers, Mayor.
I'll go ahead and close public comment on this item at 7:55. We have a motion to receive and file.
I move to receive and file.
I second that.
Motion by Knight, second by Wright. Receive and file. Roll call. Councilmember Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Councilmember Knight?
Yes.
Councilmember Condon?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Yes.
Mayor Lala?
Yes. I'd like to make an adjustment to the agenda, please. If we could move the city treasurer's report up. We have some folks from the finance committee that are here so that they can give their report.
So we can put them on the spot and move them up. I know you're really interested in the next item, but I just thought you could be here till 11 o'clock. I'm okay with changing it.
You okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Consensus? Okay. We have a consensus. Go ahead and do that.
One of those two ladies in the back is going to start it, and then Mike and I have promised to help.
I don't know if they realize you just called them up.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, maybe.
Sorry about that.
Was the loser or the winner going to give the report?
I'm going to be the cheerleader. She's going to speak.
Hi, I'm Diane Harris, Chair of the Standing Financial Committee. Jennifer? Burnett, Secretary. And we come here to present a recommendation to the City Council. We are asking if the VLF auditors accept an extension to the continued audit worker. Is that going to be presented for VLF to continue? And under what terms? And we would like to propose a 1 to 2 year extension, if possible, for VLF to stay on.
Okay.
The recommendation that we came to, I think this was a great opportunity for the Finance Committee to provide a value to the council, because our concerns were that we got ourselves behind by not being able to pick an auditing firm until later in the year. And so we got not only behind in the process, but also we learned that a lot of the other auditing firms had already made enough commitments that they weren't available for Beaumont. So we only had one auditing firm apply, and we accepted them. And the report we got from Melania is that that we're very professional. We're very happy with them. They're in the process of doing this, but we're looking at the timing of it, and if what the committee wanted to suggest to council is, number one, find out whether or not VLF is interested in continuing a second year with us. The ordinance says that we can, with acceptance from both sides, extend the process 1 year. And so we just wanted the council to consider this. And the reason I think this was a value for the Finance Committee is we spent 35, 40 minutes talking about this. And so we thought that that'd be 35 or 40 minutes that council would not have to have the conversation, but at least we can present it to us to give us an idea of some actions that we wanted to make. So the recommendation was that, number one, we find out, number one, if VLF is interested in a second year, and if they are, if they'd be willing to give us an idea on the cost. And if they're not, or if council decides that we want to go out to bid, we start the process now. Doesn't stop VLF from bidding if that's what the council decides, but we weighed the pros and cons of keeping the same accounting firm for multiple years. And if you wouldn't mind speaking to that, Melania.
Actually, I'd like to.
Okay, sure.
Well, yeah, I'll take it. I actually met with the city treasurer last week. It was my suggestion that the Standing Financial Committee review the contract, because we are getting behind. It is time now, at this point, that most cities go out to RFP for an auditor. And so I asked the city treasurer to put it on the agenda for the Standing Financial Committee, because I knew that council would want their recommendation on whether or not to retain their services. We have contacted VLF, and they are interested in staying on. So what I would like to do is propose that we get an official quote from them and put that on an agenda here in the next meeting or two, and have council either approve the contract for the new dollar amount or give staff direction at that time to go out to RFP.
Great. One thing that we were hoping is that the council would get an opportunity to consider a 1-year or a 2-year or a 1 year with the option to extend to 2 years. So
okay. And that'll be part of the staff report. Perfect. But yes, I was aware of it. It was my idea.
Great.
So the ordinance, just to provide clarification on this, the ordinance provides at section 3.01.070 that the term of any professional services contract awarded shall not exceed 1 year. Contract shall be submitted to the City Council annually for approval, renewal, termination, non-renewal, or extension. So you don't have to go out to RFP.
Right.
No. You can renew it or extend it, but for 1-year terms.
Okay.
And the idea behind that was, at the time that this ordinance was adopted and what was going on, that these would come back to you in a public meeting with public input before you renewed them.
Yeah, our problem was the ordinance said that it would terminate after they completed the June 30, 15, and that could be much later in the year, and put us way behind. So we wanted to address that. And there was one other thing that you guys are supposed to report about the council's, or the committee is considering going to 1 meeting a month.
Oh, God. Yeah, council.
And our concerns were, if as a committee we decided we wanted a second meeting that month, would that be considered a special meeting? And would that give us, and I'm not necessarily asking you to give us an answer tonight, but would that put us at a disadvantage on some subjects we may want to talk about, or would we be better off keeping the two meetings a month and then just canceling when we don't have enough to discuss?
You know, I think that's in the discretion of the committee.
Okay.
And my recollection, I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but my recollection of the ordinance was that the Standing Financial Committee shall meet at a minimum of once every, I think, 90 days.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. And so there's nothing that prohibits you from meeting more frequently than that, if that's what the committee... Or once a month, but at least once every 90 days.
But if we're meeting once a month and we all of a sudden decide this month the budget's here and the audit's here and we want to meet twice that month...
You can do that.
Okay.
But
it's not a
just make
special
sure
meeting.
that you notice it and post your agenda.
Okay.
That's required.
Doesn't have to be
We're operating that all meetings are special meetings under the Standing Financial Committee.
Okay.
Okay.
And so the city attorney will need to correct me if that's not the case.
If you've set a regular date for your meetings, you know, every 90 days or every month, you have a regular date and you formally adopted that, you know, first Monday of the month or whatever.
That's what we're doing, first Monday of the
Then,
month.
you know, my recommendation would be, given that it's a standing date, is to treat that as a regular meeting and publish your agenda 3 days in advance.
Okay.
So then I would like to request that we get the agendas and minutes 2 days, 5 days before the meeting.
And then if you have a meeting that's not part of your regularly scheduled meetings, then that would be, you know, I would recommend that you can treat that as a special meeting with 24 hours notice.
Great.
But just, it is a Brown Act body, so.
Okay.
And just so you ladies know, we are required to post 72 hours ahead of time, and so we need 24 to 48 hours for staff to gather everything and get it posted. And so that's why I'm requesting that it be 5 days before the meeting.
So it'd be for the special.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I'm not suggesting that it's been done wrong, but based on the information I have, that's my recommendation.
Okay.
So I think that does it for this treasurer's report. So that takes us to...
Mayor, we do have a comment on the treasurer's report from a member of the public.
Thank you very much. With that, I'll go ahead and open public comment at 8:05.
Judy Bingham.
This has to do with the warrants for Bosco Legal Services for serving Union Bank. I believe, I don't have the total because I was going to ask Nancy, but it was over $4,000. And I was just wondering, was that just for serving the subpoena, or did that include the copying? Thank you.
Would you like me to answer that, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
Please.
That, in response to Ms. Bingham's request, that included they had several people. We wanted to get this turned around quickly. Once our office issued the subpoenas, the bank had indicated it would take them about 6 weeks to pull the documents out of storage and then to review them and copy them and get them to us.
Right.
So we suggested that we have a copy service, a bonded copy service, go down to their office in L.A., with their own equipment and copy it on site and image it and scan it. And so that bill includes sending people, however many people they sent, down to the LA offices of Union Bank, scanning all the documents and imaging them for us, and so it includes all of that.
Did it include serving?
And they also served the subpoena, so it would include that as well.
Okay. Thank you very much for that explanation.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public speakers on this item? So with that, I'll close public comment at 8:07. So with that, we'll move to action item 3B, the Community Facilities District 93-1 Debt Service Schedule Preparation, Award of Contract.
Thank you, Mayor. Albert Webb Associates is here tonight, and what we have before you is to award a contract in the amount of $35,000, and that is to perform the debt service schedules. I don't want to say reconciliation, but that's truly what it is. As you recall, Webb was retained to perform special tax consulting services, specifically the annual calculations and enrollment of the special taxes. As part of the RFP process, there was an expectation that the city had current debt service schedules, and we have since found over the course of several months that we did not have current debt service schedules. And when they brought that to our attention we retained Webb through contract, not on an interim basis, but through contract in September. They brought that to staff's, they brought it to the forefront through several meetings, and that was probably around November, December. We brought it to council as one of the main budget items. Part of the debt service scheduling is, it's important, and I'll let Webb Associates talk more about that, but moving forward, without those debt service schedules, the city, in essence, would be taxing at the max tax levy, because we can't determine the actual amounts that can or should be in the tax levies. When bonds are called, the total outstanding balance is reduced, including the remaining interest payments, and therefore a reduced debt service payment is required. The current debt service schedules are not available from the trustee. We've asked Union Bank. This was part of our discussions when they alluded to the fact that they had destroyed all of the records, and that's when we got the city attorney involved, and we have since discovered that they didn't destroy all of the records, but they stand firm that they do not have debt service schedules, have never created debt service schedules, and that they're not in the business of doing that. So with that, I would like to bring Shane or Rich up front to answer any questions from council about the importance of these schedules and what they intend to do for the $35,000.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Rich Wolf with Albert Webb Associates. I'm happy to answer any specific questions you have, or I can feel free to just add on to the city manager's report.
You have questions or from council? Yeah. Good.
Okay.
You good?
I have some questions.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
And I know that in the past, as a council member learning my job, and all of us learning our jobs, that we've made some errors in how we address concerns that we have. So I have some concerns about your contract and your work with us. Is that something I need to address with the city manager in this format, or can I ask the questions of Mr. Wall here?
You you can address the concerns about the contract. You have before you a proposal regarding contracting for their services. If you have concerns about it, as an elected official, you're entitled to ask about it.
Okay. So when we went through the RFP process, we brought you guys in interim or emergency, and you helped us right away. And then we went through an official RFP process, and we had a number of firms that we were bidding on. And I made the statement at the time that I really believe in you guys, and I still do. I have a lot of confidence in what you're doing, and that you are very honest and have never avoided a question from me. So I'm good with that. My concern was, at the time, we were being asked to consider your contract over everyone else's contract, and I don't remember the numbers, but it was tens of thousands of dollars in difference. And I asked you guys at the time, I said, how come, I was hoping you would have made it easier for me to support you, but I wanted to know why there was such a huge difference in the contract. And you explained to us that since you'd already been in our books and you had a good idea of what you were facing and the other firms did not, that you felt that your bid was much more realistic. And then I took you guys at your word on that, and we moved forward. Whereas now, were you not aware that the DSSs, the debt service schedules, were incomplete at the time?
At the time of the formal RFP process, no. So if council recalls, our original engagement from June to August was an emergency, get the tax rolls submitted to the county. There was a brief audit done to make sure we weren't carrying any past mistakes. In fact, we did find several mistakes that had been done, and we corrected those mistakes. But we were working off of the same practice that had been done previously, which was just levy at the max, get the rolls, get the tax on the rolls. We did not do an in-depth look and budgeting process. So fast forward through September, we go into the actual normal course of business. We're awarded the contract. We start to get into our reporting season, which is kind of the normal course of business for the annual administration. We start to look for those and ask those questions. And so if I may just kind of back up for a second and kind of share with council here, when we take a client from another consultant, there's usually it's almost like the handing of a baton. You're just taking budgets, you're taking rate and methods of apportionments, you're taking notice of special tax liens, maps. You're taking them from one agency to the other, and you really continue the work. I mean, there's not the magnitude of effort that was set forth with Beaumont. It's no surprise it's a special case, and so we were faced with that for really every kind of step of the way. So moving back to the debt service schedules, we didn't know at the time of the RFP process. And so as we went through that exercise and started to ask for them, and we started to learn that bonds had been called, where's the updated schedules, that's when we brought the attention to the city's, to the city manager's office, that we needed to get those information. So we went through the process with the interim finance director, Onyx Jones. We had several calls with Union Bank. We asked for them, and Elizabeth's done a great job explaining. The responses we got were simple, that the bank doesn't create those, their systems aren't set up to do that, and that in fact, any information they had likely been destroyed, or it was archived, and then later we learned that it was destroyed. So to answer your question in short, no, we did not know at the time of the RFP.
Okay, so a couple more questions. If you had the DSSs at the time of your work that you did, I forget exactly what you titled the work, but providing tax roll information, would your calculations and your tax roll information have been different with the DSSs?
Not for for the fiscal year 15-16 tax roll. It was decided to continue forward with the same practice.
Okay.
Because of the short time frame, I think we had 6 to 8 weeks.
Correct.
In order to get those on the...
So will these DSSs, if you had these DSSs today completed, or the time it's going to take you to complete them, or back in January, would that have an effect on your completing the job that you need these for? In other words, if you had them in January, are you going to be on hold until this gets done, whether you guys do it or somebody else does it?
Well, the short answer is it all depends on the direction of council. If it's council's decision to continue to levy at the max and not do a budget, then no. You don't need the debt service schedules, and you could deny.
Okay, well, obviously that's not what I'm saying. But
Sure.
what I'm saying is to do it right, are you on hold with your work until you have the correct DSSs?
That is correct. To do an administration of the district on a budgeted basis, to be able to give recommendation and guidance to council is what are the capacity of the CFDs, what is left over for future facility projects, if that is the need, to do the annual reporting where you have to disclose how much is currently outstanding on the bonds. To do those correct, then yes, you can do it now, or you can, at some point it needs to be done.
Okay, and I'll yield the floor to someone else, but I do have some more questions.
I've got just a quick question. In your experience, who is typically responsible for establishing the DSS? Is it the city? Is it the bank? Is it...
So, well, they're actually created at the time the bonds are issued. From there, it would be if the city was doing its own administration or you had a special tax consultant, each time a bond was called, it would be included in that scope of work that you work with the trustee to call the bonds, and then you would update the debt service schedule each time you made a change to it.
Okay. And have you seen that done here?
Not here, no. No, it appears that they don't exist.
Okay, thank you.
And you took my question, but a follow-up to his question.
Sure.
In other cases, have you seen banks or trustees handle that process?
Well, it would be either through the special tax consultant or the financial advisor. It really depends on the nature of the agents involved. It looks like my boss is going to jump in here.
Just to add a little bit of color to that question. There are different trustees out there, and some of them do administer the debt and calculating the debt service schedules, and we are able to work with them. As Richard mentioned, as part of the bond call process, there's an analysis that's performed. The tax administrator would do that, or your financial advisor. From what we were informed, it was potentially that Rod Gunn's outfit might have been the agent entity to help aid in that. And what we would do as your tax administrators, we'd take those prepayments, we'd make a bond call recommendation, and we would provide direction to the trustee to say, confirm that these are the right terms that we're going to call, so we're in agreement that this is the proper call flow. Union Bank, I guess, their practice has been just to receive the information and process. And there is no records that we have found of the requests, the requisitions to ask Union Bank to make these certain calls to allow us to be able to just automatically assume that and update a schedule. So we're going to have to perform this function on behalf of the city that wasn't done at the time the administration was occurring with these calls. So we're trying to create past history. And so to answer your question short, yes, some banks do.
Okay. And I think one of the other things that we had provided direction on is we're looking for ways to clean up these past CFDs and make the accounting more transparent, if you will. And this is one method to use to do that?
Correct. And this is a way for us to, we're altering the course of the way that the administration had occurred in the past. And to provide, as Richard mentioned, a budgeted accounting is to provide information to make informed decisions. If there is a desire to adjust the tax rates away from the full assigned tax rate, this budgeting process is necessary, and the transparency of that would come out of this exercise.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Councilmember Condon?
So this process not being done affects the individual taxpayer. Am I understanding that correctly?
You're correct. And if I can also add a little bit, and Richard did a good job on answering the questions. What we provided is an estimate of the not to exceed efforts on the various improvement areas. It's going to take us to look in each one of these improvement areas to confirm that there were, one, calls performed, and two, that it would be necessary for us to go through a reconciliation process for that. So not every improvement area is going to require this effort. So just wanted to make sure that's clear that we're providing this as a not to exceed ultimate cost, and we're hopeful that obviously if the number of districts were not 22 improvement areas receiving calls but instead say 10, then obviously the effort would be significantly less than what we proposed in that agreement.
Councilmember Orozco.
Thank you. So you did mention that this will not exceed the fee schedule of $35,000. How will you not estimate, but account for the time that you'll be working on this? Will we be able to see an accounting measure that you're utilizing?
Correct.
Somewhat similar to what we saw with even Fritchers.
You know, it's a time and a material agreement that will report back that here's how many hours it's taken for us to do certain functions. One would be to evaluate all the improvement areas, and then two would be to recreate each of them. But it's a necessary element that we wanted to bring forward to the council. We think this is important.
And you said you have nothing to go by, nothing to go with.
We only have originals. And so from our perspective, that continues the practice of what has been implemented in the prior administration without regard of what the actual debt due is. It's levied the full amount. And so in order for us to alter that course, assuming that there was some reliable information available, which it appears there is not, then we have to reconstruct that.
Okay. And then in regards to, you said you haven't seen it done here, but the responsibility goes back on, you said, Ron Dunn's.
The finance team in place at the time.
How about our person that handled our CFDs at that time, which was our city manager?
Anybody that was providing direction to the trustee of which maturities to call should have performed some function of that.
Okay. I think important for me in terms of the accounting, because I understand not to exceed 35,000. What I don't want, because I was a little upset. I'm glad Councilman White mentioned that, because where his comments, his previous comments or earlier comments in regards to, I remember you guys saying specifically,
right.
We will not. And that's kind of convinced me towards supporting moving this forward. But now to see this and additional, you guys threw me out for a loop, and I was a little upset on this.
I appreciate that, and I stood here before you and told you, we don't change order on the work, and this is a highly unusual, and over 400 to 500 bonded transactions that no one has a record of the current debt service schedule is unheard of. And no one could have anticipated that would be a need that would be necessary. And if you look at our proposal, as we provide any bond calls, we would provide those debt service schedules. Trust me, the mountain of work well exceeds the debt service schedule reconciliation, and I hope that our efforts have demonstrated that we've true to our word on service delivery. In this instance, we could still do the administration we said we could do without this. I just wanted to give you clarity that the direction of the council to provide opportunities to reduce tax rates is going to require additional effort was not originally anticipated.
No, and I understand that. I understand where you're coming from, and I know what the need is for. And I agree with Dr. Condon, because that's my understanding was this needs to take place. This needs to happen. Just unfortunately, you guys didn't catch it earlier, or our staff didn't catch it earlier. For me to support something like this is I need accountability at this point. I need to be able to see what the work that you're putting into it, how it's broken down, so when we come back with a final number and we have to approve of that there's some measure to that. So, sure.
Councilmember Condon?
Well, I just want to say that you've really educated me about this subject this evening, and I think what's important now is what we do going forward. We know that this is unheard of, and I think we move forward into the future and get this done and on the right track.
Thank you. Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem White?
Couple more questions. Have we verified if anyone, including the union banks, has been receiving, the CFDs pay for administrative fees, and these debt service administration would be paid for by the CFDs, correct? The administration.
Correct.
So have we confirmed that no one is being paid for doing that service over the years?
We have no record of debt service schedules ever being created, so no,
right.
We haven't.
But we don't have, we
haven't
told someone we're going to pay them for doing something that hasn't been done.
No, and that would be part of Urban Futures reconciliation when they're looking at the CFDs. But no, to answer your question, no, we haven't confirmed that.
Okay. As I said before, I have a lot of confidence in you guys, and I think this is important and that we need to approve it. And I know that that you will keep the costs down as best you can. But here's a part that really got to me, and it's in your letter, March 30th, to the city manager. And there's a paragraph here. It says, "It is my understanding the city has limited records accounting for the bond calls related to CFD 93-1. Furthermore, MUFG Union Bank, N.A., the city's trustee, has disclosed that many of the records related to this project have been destroyed. And if the trustee is engaged to help assist in this project, it'll come at an additional and expensive cost to the city." I'm not upset with you.
No, that wasn't ours. That wasn't our quote.
No, I understand. I am very upset with Union Bank. And I think what's happened here, with them telling us that there are documents, now they may not be the DSSs, because they probably never did those, but they are acknowledging the documents were destroyed. And unless you're talking 20 years ago, these documents are going to be digital. They're not going to be just a hard copy document. So I would like to get a consensus from my colleagues here on council. I believe that we need to do a resolution to send a letter to the Department of Finance, the Treasurer, and to the Attorney General's office and ask them to start looking into Union Bank for us, because we've done the subpoenas. We still are not getting the documents that we're supposed to be getting, and the Attorney General and I believe the Treasurer as well are both on expecting to run for office next year. And I would like to see if the rest of the council will agree that we put together a resolution asking the Department of Finance and the Treasurer and then the Attorney General's office to give us some support and help on what's going on with Union Bank.
So you can always, under the Brown Act, vote to put an item on the agenda if you wanted to do that at the next council meeting. It's not on the agenda tonight.
Okay.
We're talking about the contract with Webb, but but certainly you can vote to have that item on the agenda as an action item.
Okay, I move that we, on the next meeting, we put an agenda item to send a resolution to Department of Finance and the Attorney General's office regarding Union Bank.
Oh, I'd like to see a draft written up.
Well, that'll be part of the item. Is that a second?
Your first reading? Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to put that item on the agenda by Mayor Pro Tem White, second by Roscoe. Roll call. Councilmember Roscoe.
Hold on a second. Can you read the...
Yeah, I'm going to wait until she gets caught up. Do you have it caught up yet? Okay. Yeah, do it.
She's not on mic.
Okay, so there was a motion by Mayor Pro Tem White asking for a consensus to have an item on a future meeting to send a resolution, to type up a resolution to send to the Department of Finance and the Attorney General office regarding Union Bank.
And the State Treasurer?
I thought the Department of Finance is run by the Treasurer. I got that wrong. That's why I'm saying and Treasurer. I figured it was the same office.
Is that clarified?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it in State of California?
Yes.
The controller. All right.
I think the Department of Finance manages the banks. I don't think the controller does. Do you know Mr. Spicer?
I believe you're right.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right, so roll call. Councilmember Roscoe.
Aye.
Councilmember Knight.
Yes.
Councilmember Condon.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White.
Yes.
Mayor Lara.
Yes.
And now I'd like to make a motion that we approve this item. Oh, I'm sorry.
We have,
Sorry.
Yeah. We do have two members of the public that like to speak.
with that, I'll go ahead and open public comment at 8:30.
First speaker, Judy Bingham.
This is very frustrating. Your consultants, Webb and Associates, are not being truthful with you. You need to get the DSS from Union Bank. And here is a copy of what Union Bank produces. So let the bank do it for you. They're your trustee. Webb's letter to Urtiaga states, Union Bank, the city's trustee, has disclosed that many of the records related to the project have been destroyed. What did we have? A big shredding party here in this city? Who shredded all these documents, and where are they? The trustee also stated that they are not capable of providing the necessary support the city requires. What is this, extortion from Union Bank? Here it is. Anybody wants a copy? I'll give you a copy. 2 weeks ago, Pinckney claimed the Union Bank was fully cooperative and willing to turn over documents. Well, let's ask for these. Sounds like your crooks have competing stories to council, and council better get smart about this because all these consultants and attorneys are robbing the citizens and taxpayers blind. It is the bond trustee's job. If Union Bank doesn't want to submit an invoice for the bonds for fear of further involvement in criminal activity, then perhaps council should take the hint. What's the point of having an outside company create debt service documents if Union Bank isn't willing to create the documents themselves? Unable to calculate the annual special taxes based on an actual budgeted need as it relates to the city's new administration practices, the annual special taxes have nothing to do with the budgeted needs of the city. Only in Beaumont does the government openly, proudly, and illegally gouge property owners. Now, I'm getting pretty sick of this, and you all better straighten up, get some brains, and do it right.
Thank you for your comment.
Next speaker, Ron Roy.
All right. Judy is sort of like my hero, you know. She's very courageous. So let me point out, if I'm not mistaken, there is a schedule. Can we please have it up before I get my time that shows the debt service?
I think it's the last page, or second to last page.
I mean, this is something that I'm not the only one who gets frustrated. They should be showing us for $35,000, and while that's going up, I'm concerned about the overlap between the services provided between Urban Futures and Albert Webb. I mean, if we're the citizens, let's like we're looking at a glass window, and we want to see the flow of money. Okay, so we want to see. I'm familiar with the fund control. Mr. Lahr, you probably are familiar how fund controls operate for construction companies. There's an independent third party that is the money flows through, and so you have the bond control. You have this money coming. Okay, so a developer wants to build a capital improvement. I'm going to stick with capital improvement, like housing tracts or infrastructure, okay? So they go and the bond is issued. Okay, so a requisition has to be made by probably an agent of the developer, probably a contractor, okay? So the contractor submits that. So who's the intermediary? What I call the fund control manager. And that sounds like it's the bank. Before any money is released for a construction project, there has to be proof of that there's a reasonable cost. You know, you're not going to charge $150,000 for a staple on a staple gun if you're putting in framing, okay? You can't do that. And then also there has to be proof of performance. Typically in a performance contract on construction, you know, you ask for a third of the work and then you perform it. And so there's a process that we should, in the city, the residents, we should be in that window, that plexiglass window, and we should just see the behavior of the money. Now, if there's an image that is missing because a record is destroyed, there's still sort of a reflection of the behavior, even if you don't have that image. The question I have is that this is a forensic accounting issue. So when I was just in the stands here, you know, on the cheap seats, it sounded like Urban Futures was in a much closer proximity to the behavior of the transactions. That they're actually, and they could produce a fund control. Now, if you look at this is kind of confusing to me. I think we should have a connection between the improvement areas. That's just, any kid who's been around, let's show what improvement areas are connected to these bond balances. I know where we were. I looked at a bond financing, and all these bond companies in Orange County, Newport Beach. I don't know if it's a fifth or sixth floor. So it goes from Newport Beach to Union Bank in L.A., and then there's the contractors on behalf of the agent of the Wall Street paid, like Argent Management or SunCal, whatever. But, okay, thank you for giving me the extra time, but the point is, we had about $30 million, I think, that was in our fund control. So are these balances? To get to the nut of the issue, I would just be concerned that we can show a connection to each of these balances to improvement areas. I mean, we're 19A through D in Fairway Canyon. Okay, so, and I know Councilor White even once told us that there's an improvement bond for the entire city. Maybe we should see where that is too. That would also tie back to our personal concerns. In Fairway Canyon, we want to get a park and a library and so forth. And I even had the Parks District talking about how the money should be allocated. So again, in short, what I'm really concerned about in this schedule is let's connect the balances to the improvement areas. I want to say, oh, okay, the 8775, ours would be around 2004, would show 19A or B. If you could do that, I'd be eternally happy. I know there's way more that's way out of my league here. And I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment.
No further speakers, Mayor.
So with that, I'll close public comment at 8:37.
Mayor, I'd like to ask Mr. Spicer to come up and address the concern as I see it, which is, why is this different from what Urban Futures is doing, and why wouldn't Urban Futures be able to do this? And I think I understand, but
Sure.
you could help us all understand.
Well, that's fair. So what this is this is the debt service schedule that bondholders had purchase bonds for each of these improvement areas. So this is their repayment of those funds through those bond issuances paid on the taxpayer's tax roll. And so we're reconciling the repayment of the bonds. Urban Futures is tracking what was used, what were the monies that were received, paid for in the individual. So we're paying back, we're trying to calculate what's going back to the bondholders, and they're trying to track where did the money go. So
you're not, you wouldn't be tying any of these to improvement areas or that information?
We are going to have, what you see here is a debt service schedule for a specific bond.
That's what.
Okay, and that could be for a specific improvement area. Okay, so each improvement area that has a bond has one of these. Okay.
Or should have one.
Should have. Well, they have these on the original. So what you're seeing is what is part of the original bond documents.
Got it.
Okay, so we have original debt service schedules. Okay, what we don't have are any current debt service schedules that may have been revised as a part of a bond call that would have been reflective of prepayments. So we don't have a current from the original.
Can I just interrupt, because I want to make sure everybody understands what a bond call is. So every time a prepayment is made, what happens?
So in the bond documents, there's optional and mandatory bond calls. When there are prepayments received as a part of a property owner, developer, whoever is paying their debt obligation to repay these bonds, and they pay in advance of that, then they need to turn around and reduce the debt in proportion to the amount of bonds that, or amount of the prepayment was. Many of these schedules have term bonds, meaning that you see here 13, 14, 15, 16, and then in the later years, and not on this schedule necessarily, and that's why we don't think we'll have to do every single schedule, but there are schedules that have 5-year terms at increments until maturity. There's details in those individual terms that when someone calls bonds, if there's a $50,000 payment received at prepayments, there should be at least 10 $5,000 redemptions on the debt service schedule, because that person that prepaid is no longer going to be paying a tax. Therefore, you're not going to be able to use those funds to pay the debt. So it should be a 1-to-1. So as these prepayments are come in, there should be a bond redemption. What I'm saying is that no one did the calculation to manage those schedules to keep them current. And so that's what we're proposing, is in the instances that there were redemptions, that we would reconcile those to, so that we have an accurate calculation of what each debt service payment due for the 16-17 tax rolls would be, because as each bond call, regardless if it's the final maturity or what have you, has an effect to the whole debt service schedule and the interest payments.
Thank you.
Okay. So,
Yeah, well, that's okay. Mayor, we have 2 late requests on the bond debt.
Service, if you'd like to open, it's up to you.
Do you want to
One's
open?
by Jennifer Burnett and one's by Judy Bingham.
I just have a question for clarification. I think, and maybe Mr. Pinckney, you can speak to this, that are we going to start allowing multiple 3-minute times? Because if we allow Mrs. Bingham to speak again for 3 minutes, then if Mr. Roy wants to speak for 3 minutes or someone else, we sort of have to do that, don't we?
That is true. If you decide that you're going to allow people to speak more than once, a person, then other people that want to speak again, or you have to allow them. You can't selectively choose who you're going to allow to speak more than once.
Okay. So do we, I guess the other question is do we want to hear the additional speaker that hasn't spoken yet?
I personally would think it makes sense that we listen to someone who hasn't spoken before. And I'm okay doing it the other way. I know you guys are concerned about our family lives and getting home and that kind of thing, and it could just go on and on and on. So that's my question.
Anybody have comments on that?
I don't mind allowing the person that hasn't spoken. That's about it.
So go ahead and we'll open up reopen the public comment for one additional speaker at 8:42.
That's for Jennifer Burnett.
I just had a question, I guess more for Webb. Am I allowed to do that?
Well,
Yeah.
direct to council.
Directed to council? Okay, just, we were saying that there was savings to the citizens. I'm wondering, do we have for example, if this were to be determined that there is a tax savings to the citizens, what an individual tax savings could look like, or what the potential is as equivalent to the cost? I mean, if we're saving all the citizens $35,000, then certainly spending the $35,000 seems more worth it. That's all.
Thank you very much for your comment. With that, we'll go ahead and reclose public comment at 8:43.
Can we ask Webb to respond?
I can respond to that. So essentially, at council's discretion, yes, as this exercise is completed and we have an understanding of what the actual debt is, the requirement is, then we could go off of reducing tax rates to meet that specific need, again, at the council's discretion.
In order to do that, would you have to reissue bonds and all of that, or you could just calculate it differently and it'll be lower tax?
Right. It's not, that's a different subject. I mean, that does offer tax savings as well, but specifically for what we're discussing here this evening, no, you don't need to issue bonds for that. You're creating a budget, and this is basically the bulk of the budget is the debt service payment.
Great. Thank you.
Would this reduce our debt service payment from the general fund as well?
Well, no, these are going to be specific to the CFD, the bonds in the CFD.
Okay. Yeah. So, do we have a motion?
Mr. White need a motion?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the award a contract to Webb in the amount of $35,000 to perform the DSS research, analysis, and preparation.
I'd like to second that. I'd like to second that.
And that's subject to the city attorney's review.
Subject to consent.
And issue the PO, correct?
Yeah.
And issue the PO?
I move that we approve staff recommendations 1 and 2.
There you go.
Okay, so I have a motion by White and a second by Condon. Roll call. Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Councilmember Knight?
Yes.
Councilmember Condon?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Yes.
Mayor Lara?
Yes. That motion carries. And with that, I'd like to take a 5-minute break at 8:45.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and re-adjourn the meeting at 8:55. Brings us to item 3C, an employment contract with interim city manager.
Mayor, I'm going to recuse myself.
Thank you.
Your Honor, would you like me to provide a brief report on the item that you have before you?
If you would, please.
Okay. Before you this evening, you have item 3C, which is the interim city manager employment agreement. And I'll just touch on some of the provisions. It's been in the packet. But some of the provisions, the more salient provisions, Section 1.2 provides for the term of the agreement. The agreement would commence on April 5th, and it would have a term of 9 months, ending on January 5th, 2017. And then in Section 1.3, the agreement provides that the employment of the interim city manager would be at will, and that the city manager would serve at the pleasure of the city council, and the employee would acknowledge that she was serving as an at-will employee and would not avail herself to any procedures, provisions, or protections set forth in city employment policies insofar as such procedures limit or restrict or regulate the employee's status as an at-will employee. It's Section 2.1. It addresses the base salary. The base salary under this agreement, which I prepared, would be $13,750 per month for a 9-month term. And that would mean that during the 9-month term of the agreement, the total base compensation or salary would be shall not exceed, under the terms of the contract, shall not exceed $123,750. And salary would be paid on a prorated basis biweekly in accordance with the city's payroll practices. Business expenses would be reimbursed. The benefits are set forth in Section 2 of the agreement, such as up to $1,390 per month for the cafeteria health benefit plan. And then under Section 2.4, there would be a vehicle allowance of $350 per month. In addition to that, I won't go into all the details, but if you turn to Section 6.0 of the agreement, there are 2 types of termination provisions. One is without cause. The city council would have the discretion to terminate the interim city manager without cause. If the city manager were terminated without cause, then there would be a severance payment. The severance payment would be the lesser of 6 months base salary, which would include the 30-day notice to terminate period of time, less any applicable and legally required deductions. Let me back up. It would be the lesser of 6 months or the remaining amount due under the term of the contract. So if there were 2 months remaining on the 9-month term of the contract, then it would be 2 months. If there were 8 months remaining under the contract, then the maximum amount of the severance would be 6 months, and that's only if you terminate the interim city manager without cause. Under Section 6.3, it addresses the issue of termination with cause, and with cause is defined in that provision to include breach of the agreement, willful or persistent breach of duties, resume fraud or other acts of material dishonesty, unauthorized absence or leave not otherwise supported by valid documentation from a healthcare worker, conviction of a misdemeanor involving moral turpitude, conviction of a misdemeanor DUI, conviction of a felony, violation of the city anti-harassment policies, violation of the city's municipal code, ordinances, rules, or regulations, including but not limited to the city's rules and regulations and administrative policies, use of or possession of illegal drugs, engaging in conduct tending to bring embarrassment or disrepute to the city, any illegal or unethical act involving personal gain, a pattern of repeated willful or intentional failure to carry out materially significant and legally constituted directions or policy decisions of the council, gross misfeasance or gross malfeasance. And if you terminate the employee with cause, then there is no severance. But you would be legally obligated to pay any accrued vacation time. You're always legally obligated to pay any accrued vacation, any accruals that the employee has already earned. And there's a provision at 7.1 that prohibits any conflicts of interest while serving in the position of interim city manager. And I think those are the key provisions of the agreement. So, in terms of the process leading up to this evening, I prepared this agreement. It was provided to Ms. Urtiaga's attorney. He made some changes to it. I sent him my responses to his proposed changes, and I sent those yesterday to him. And he was not available today, but to discuss the disagreement that existed between my proposed changes versus his proposed changes to this document that you have in your packet. So we have not had a chance to follow up on that. He did indicate he'd be available tomorrow to talk, but that he was tied up from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. tonight. And the message that I received from him was that my proposed changes, let me back up. We sent him this agreement, he made his changes, and then I responded to his changes. I did not agree with all of his changes, and so I sent him the document that I was willing to move forward with, which was different than this, because it factored in his requested modifications in my responses. And he said that the document I sent him was not acceptable.
Okay.
So that's where we're at.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, may I ask Mr. Pinckney a clarification?
Yes.
So,
Mayor Pro Tem White?
if we approve this contract tonight, there's a possibility that it will not be signed.
That's possible. If the council approves this agreement, then it would be, the ball would be in the court of the proposed interim city manager, the current interim
So
city
she could
manager.
either accept...
And she could accept it as drafted or reject it, and then we would potentially resume negotiations if that was the will of the council and the employee.
Any additional questions? Any other comments? We have any public speakers?
Yes, Mayor, we do have one speaker.
Let's go ahead and open up for public comment at 9:03.
Judy Bingham.
Thank you. What just happened with Webb and Associates is a perfect example of why Ms. Gibbs is not qualified to be a city manager, and council must hire competent staff. Elizabeth sat here for 20 years and watched the criminal activity that went on. She never blew the whistle on Alward, Copernicus, and their accomplices. Elizabeth, if you look back on those requisitions, you will see that Elizabeth herself signed on those requisitions. And then to claim she had no knowledge, you know, I'm getting a little tired of these little white lies. Elizabeth signed and Mayor Knight signed the most current requisitions. You didn't speak up either, did you, Brenda Knight? Why didn't you say something when Webb was speaking? I mean, Urban Futures was speaking. Why didn't you say, I signed on those current requisitions, the 2015 requisitions? Why didn't you speak up? Those requisitions, if anybody cares to look it up, it's dated 10/21/2015, so look it up on the website and consider all of that. I'm tired of all these lies.
Thank you very much for your comment.
We do have one more speaker, Mayor. Dr. Blair Ball.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I have no real emotion in this agenda item, but I do have some experience with this. In fact, I've been where you are now, at a time when, as serving on a board, where a general manager left suddenly, and we were left to fill that general manager spot, just as you have this past year. This council, out of necessity, had to reach out to a city staff, or a member of the staff, to take the position of the interim city manager position. And a staff member of her own choice accepted that position, held a contract, and was paid for the service to the city. This contract, however, seems a little bit different in that it seems to create a new position within the city, and that of an assistant city manager. And so my concern is more with the process. If so, did the council approve this new position? Is funding in place for this? Has this staff member had leadership opportunities prior to being thrown into the fire, as she was with the interim city manager position? This certainly is not a put down on the staff member, the employee, but it seems that the prior city manager, as we just listened to tonight, kept the affairs of the city very close to himself and a select few others. And so there probably were not opportunities for leadership to be given out to other staff members, as might have been done in other situations. This contract seems to be too liberal, in my opinion, in that it allows the future city manager to set a future position and salary at a time when the city is in such financial distress. This was not the intent of the original contract with the employee, if I remember that prior contract. To some of the public, this seems to have an appearance of a position being created as a reward for the past year's work. I'm unfamiliar with who held the assistant city manager position when Mr. Copernicus was the city manager, if indeed such a position exists. Does the city need an assistant city manager currently, or would the city benefit more with increased staff in other areas for that same amount of money that's going to be expended? What about the educational requirements required to fill an assistant city manager position in Beaumont? Does this person have that? What about the leadership qualifications that I already addressed? Does this staff member qualify? Is it something that should be put out to public a bid, in a sense, for others to interview? I would simply ask that this council not put this staff member in a position that she may not be qualified for and in which she may not succeed. So I'm interested in her being dealt with fairly, and the council too, and the citizens also. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
No further speakers, Mayor.
So with that, I'll close public comment at 9:09. Do you have comment from council at all?
I'd like to make a proposal in terms of postponing this, continuing this item.
A motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I would second that motion.
Okay, so are we continuing this till the contract has been negotiated, or further next meeting? How do you want to do that?
Well, I don't want to put anything on the agenda, because that will bind us to put us on the agenda. I'd like to put it, just to postpone it until
future meeting.
Till further notice.
Okay. The motion was made by Councilmember Orozco, seconded by Councilmember Condon. Is that correct? Okay. Roll call. Councilmember Orozco?
Aye.
Councilmember Knight?
Yes.
Councilmember Condon?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Yes.
Mayor Lara?
Yes.
So we need to bring Mr. Gibbs back in, and that takes us to the next item.
We have action item 3D.
Good evening, Mayor Lara, City Council members. My name is Keith Hightower. I serve as the city building official. The City Council approved an RFP for building and safety plan check services on October 6th. In November, the city received 8 proposals from different professional firms to provide requested services. A committee consisting of the building official, the planning director, and a building inspector reviewed and rated all the proposals. You have that graph in your staff report. Staff then scheduled the top 3 finalists for oral interviews by the same committee. These firms were Scott Fazekas and Associates, CSG Consultants, and Bureau Veritas. During the interview, it became apparent that Bureau Veritas experiences a high employee turnover rate, changing the point of contact numerous times during the process. The oral interview scoring is as follows. Scott Fazekas scored a 95, CSG a 90, and Bureau Veritas at 71. Staff is recommending that the City Council award on-call service contracts to the 2 top-ranked firms. The building department currently has a primary and a secondary firm and recommends continuing this practice. If a firm starts to fall behind or not deliver on their services, the city still has another firm to utilize without going through another RFP process. This provides a checks and balances on services provided. Also, as workload increases, the city has a larger professional resource pool to assure top quality services to our development community. This contract is completely funded by fees paid by building permit applicants as part of their project. The city retains 25% of these fees. If the City Council approves an award to 2 firms, staff will negotiate any variance in rate structures and timelines with the firms so that they're both the same. This would also include hourly rate options when appropriate. This was one of the interview questions, and the 2 firms did agree to have the identical costs. Staff is recommending the approval of professional service contract and purchase orders with Scott Fazekas and Associates and CSG Consultants, subject to the city attorney making non-substantive changes. I'm here for any questions.
Councilmember Roscoe.
Keith, can you explain to me what, and to the council, what these 2 firms will be actually doing?
They will be performing plan review only for the building department on the larger, more complex projects. I do quite a bit of in-house plan review on smaller projects in additions and things like that, but anything that's over the workload that we can meet a decent time frame on, we send it out for a contract plan check.
So these are just plans?
Yeah, these are only the plans. And what they do is they take a set of drawings and they filter those through 34 inches of building codes that I have in my office and screen to make sure that those plans are completely code compliant with current building codes.
And who goes out and checks? And these are houses, right? These are mostly houses?
It can be houses, it can be commercial buildings, it can be additions, it can be anything from hot water heaters to tilt-up buildings.
Okay, okay. And who goes out, who physically goes out and checks it?
I have 2 city building inspectors that go out and do the inspections.
Okay. And have we received, because I know that one of the candidates that we're considering tonight have been currently with the city.
Yes, Scott Vasikas and Associates has been serving us well for about 7 to 8 years now.
Okay. When was the last time that their contract has been in front of the council for review?
I believe we looked at it in about 2014. It wasn't as formal as this RFP process that we're going through now.
Okay. And what has been the response in terms of our clients, in terms of the developers and property owners and stuff like that?
It's been very favorable. I collect periodic reports that not only have customer satisfaction surveys, but also the logs of how often that the plan check firm will either miss a deadline or get done with the plans under our deadline. And Scott Vasikas consistently returns the plans under the deadlines and has for many years.
What's usually what's the expected turnaround usually for a set of plans?
The initial turnaround time, and this is pretty consistent across the board, is a 10 working day turnaround time on a first submittal and 5 working days on a recheck if there's red lines and corrections.
Okay. And if we had to do, let's say, a rush or let's say we're supporting a new business, or how capable are they, to do like a rush job or a supportive job supporting the city in terms of priority and stuff like that? Do we set the priority for them? Do we say, what, we're going to move this one, or we're giving you 2 jobs and this is a priority here, we want to move this one up? How responsive have they been with us?
What actually happens is most large firms may handle 20, 30 jurisdictions, and they queue all of their projects. They triage when they get down, and they distribute them to their plan checkers, almost like an assembly line, and they make sure that they're meeting everyone's deadlines, not our own. But there have been many times in the past where I have asked for an expedited plan review, and not only does he make it happen, but most of the time, at my request, it's of no charge to the city or the applicant.
Okay. And this kind of goes into like our overall system, and I want to know, because I know currently we use them. What's the tracking method? How do we track, let's say, a plan check, and what's our system of accountability with them?
What happens, a set of plans will go down to them, and we don't even wait for the mail or the red line sets to come back to the city. Myself and the applicant, the architect, the engineer, whoever is on that list, they get a simultaneous email with the correction list. I store all those correction lists on my computer where I can look up any project at my fingertips as it moves through the plan review process. Scott Vasikas also has a plan check tracking log also, and we reconcile reconcile our plan check numbers and his numbers at the end of the month, not only for the billing cycle, but also that's how we track the turnaround times. So nothing's ever lost.
Are they, do they share a system that we are on?
We don't share systems, but we are able to talk to each other, and we are able to share plan check numbers, his and ours.
Okay, and when that will go with any, most applicants, or does one of these applicants have a different system that we?
Yeah, we can mesh with anything.
Okay.
That's it. This new process, was this done, or this RFP, was this done under the new RFP process?
Yes, that's what took us so long to bring it to you.
And by no charge, you mean that there's no additional overtime charge or additional charges to return something within an expedited time frame?
There hasn't been in the past. He has the ability to be able to do that, but we do it not often, but if there's a good reason and I call him up, they bend over backwards to make it happen for me.
Okay. I have no further questions. Do we have any public speakers on this agenda item?
Not this one, Mayor.
So with that, I'll open and close public comment at 9:20.
I move that we approve the staff recommendation to approve professional services contract and purchase orders with Scott Fazekas and Associates, Inc. and CSG Consultants, Inc., subject to the city attorney making non-substantive changes.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem White, second by Councilmember Knight. Roll call. Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Councilmember Knight?
Yes.
Councilmember Condon?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Yes.
Mayor Lauer?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Tritower. That brings us to agenda item 3E. First reading of ordinance amendment of Beaumont Municipal Code, Chapter 2.12.070 regarding city manager removal.
Your Honor, members of the council, currently there is an unusual provision in the city municipal code, and it deals with the removal of the city manager. And it was adopted back in 1993 by the council. And it provides a process that the council has to go through. Normally, city managers serve at the will and pleasure of the council, and they can be terminated with or without cause. But your code provides an unusual process that the council has to go through before removing a city manager. And so my recommendation is that you revise your municipal code. And so what you have before you this evening is a proposed ordinance for first reading. And what it does is it revises Section 2.12.070 of the code to now provide that, subject to Section 2.18.080, the city manager shall serve at the pleasure of the council and at will. The city council may remove or terminate the city manager by a majority vote of the whole council as then constituted, convened in a regular or special council meeting. The city council shall use its sole discretion in removing the city manager, and its action shall be final. So that's what's before you, is that proposed ordinance to modify the municipal code.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions from council or comments?
I just have one question. What impact do you think this will have on our negotiations with the new city manager? I know often they're very sophisticated in their negotiating techniques and have lots of desires and wishes, buyout clauses and such.
Right, and you're speaking in terms of you're currently searching for a permanent city manager, and you're speaking about your ability to recruit a permanent city manager. You're not speaking about Ms. Urchin.
No, I'm speaking of this.
Okay.
The new city manager we're looking for.
So,
sorry, I thought I made that clear.
You did. Typically, a city manager knows that they serve at the will and the pleasure of the council. And typically, the council has the right, if they are unsatisfied with that person, to terminate them without cause. And then normally, there's a severance provision negotiated in a contract with a city manager. And when you start interviewing permanent city managers, that's what you're going to find, is that if they're going to move from the Bay Area or from LA or what have you and uproot their family, they're going to want some sort of safety net that if I'm going to relocate my life and you decide, on a whim to terminate me, that I want some kind of protection, and that's the severance provision. There's a cap under the government code in terms of how much severance they're entitled to. It's the remaining term of the contract not to exceed 18 months. So they are used to the concept that they serve at the will and the pleasure of the council, and they negotiate their protection in the form of a severance provision.
Thank you.
But let me just provide some additional detail. What you currently have in your code is that if the council's unsatisfied with the city manager that you ultimately end up hiring, that you have to provide them with written notice of the council's intention to remove that city manager and the reasons therefore and the effective date of the removal. And then within 7 days after delivery to the city manager of such notice, he or she may, by written notification to the city clerk, request a public hearing before the council. Thereafter, the council shall fix a time for a public hearing, which shall be held at its usual meeting place, and at which time the city manager shall appear and be heard. And then after furnishing the city manager with written notice of removal, the city council may suspend him or her from duty, but his or her compensation shall continue until the date of removal. So it's a very unusual, in my experience, provision to have in your code. And it limits your ability to contract to have somebody that serves at the will and pleasure of the council. The city manager answers to the council. The council is the boss of the city manager and gives direction to the city manager. And if you hire a permanent city manager that you're not happy with, you want to retain that discretion to decide to end that relationship. There will likely be a cost to do so, but you want to retain that discretion. And this limits it makes it a more cumbersome process, and it entitles the city manager to this hearing process, which is unusual for a city manager. Now, having said that, in negotiating with a permanent city manager, they may want you to have provisions in their contract that give them some sort of, right to come before you, and that'll be something that you can negotiate with them. But what this does is removes from your municipal code a mandate that, they be given these opportunities to have their case be heard publicly.
Any other comments? No? Do we have any public speakers, Mr. Clerk?
Not on this item, Mayor.
Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and open and close public comment at 9:27. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion for approval of the first reading of the ordinance amending the Beaumont Municipal Code, Chapter 2.12.70 regarding city manager removal.
I'll second.
Okay, so motion by Roscoe, second by Mayor Lara. Roll call. Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Councilmember Knight?
Yes.
Councilmember Condon?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Yes.
Mayor Lara?
Yes. That brings us to item 3F, financial management policies.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As part of the budget process last year, I recommended that Council adopt financial management policies to ensure that Council has given clear direction on how you expect the city's finances will be managed going forward, and that direction is directly to the city manager. The financial management policies clarify what authority council retains, what authority you delegate, and the level of reporting or transparency that you'd like to see from the city manager. At that time, council continued the financial management policies as they were presented and directed me to go to the Standing Financial Committee for their review first, and any recommended changes before coming back to council. And so we did that. We took the financial management policies to the Standing Financial Committee. We received minor comments and suggested changes. Those are incorporated in the document that's with your staff report tonight. And at this time, I recommend that council adopt the financial management policies as they're outlined in the staff report.
Thank you very much. Do we have any speakers on this agenda item?
This is 4F. No, Mayor.
So I'll go ahead and open and close public comment at 9:29. Any comments from council?
I like it. I like all the controls that are put in there.
We're good.
You're already following most of these anyways, though, aren't you?
Correct.
Okay. So I guess we need I'll move to approve if that's what we're waiting for.
Okay. I'll second.
Okay, so motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem White, second by Mayor Lara. Roll call. Councilmember Roscoe.
Aye.
Councilmember Knight.
Yes.
Councilmember Condon.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White.
Yes.
Mayor Lara.
Yes. That motion carries and brings us to item 4, Treasurer's Report. I believe we've had that already. And so that brings us now to City Manager Report, item 5.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to do the housekeeping items first. The Community Services Department Outlook is in your packet, and that lists a lot of dates and happenings in the city. The other thing I wanted to announce is Assemblymember Chad Mays will be at the Farmhouse Restaurant on Joshua Palmer Saturday morning from 8 to 10, and the public is invited. He's asking that we share our thoughts on legislative and community issues. There is a RSVP, so I would suggest that people do that. I'm assuming it's open to the public. These were
What day was that?
Saturday from 8 to 10.
Was this Saturday?
Yes. Regarding the fireworks, staff has met with several different individuals and agencies regarding the 4th of July fireworks. We received input previously from council as part of the budget process and then through some other items that we brought forward. And what we'd like to do is present a full package to council at the next meeting, but I wanted to basically tell you where we're at right now. To have a 12-minute pyrotechnic show, it's $12,000. It's my understanding from council, and I want clarification, that we still wanted to have fireworks in Beaumont. It was the rest of the budget that was in question and, in essence, eliminated from the adopted budget. And so moving forward, as part of my staff report next council meeting, I would like to make some recommendations as far as levels of entertainment, or no entertainment at all and everybody shows up at 9 o'clock and there's fireworks. We did reach out to the chamber and they are interested in continuing to do the market night, and we think that that will draw some kind of community spirit, if you will. I think what I'm hearing from council is that we still want to do the everybody get together and have some community time in the park with picnic baskets or you know, just some fellowship, if you will. I want to make sure we're going in the right direction, though, and so that's why I wanted to put this on. The only thing that I truly am going to recommend next week and then I'll let council make the rest of the determination, as I truly believe that we still need fireworks. I think that's important to the community. We can have 8 minutes, $8,000, 12 minutes, it's about $1,000 a minute.
I would like to see, I'm sorry, Mayor, may I comment?
Councilmember Roscoe?
I would like to see, and it was a suggestion that was made earlier too, if we can get some of the clubs within the community to partake in terms of allowing them to do fundraising. I think, if they get families out there, I'm not saying necessarily you have to get food trucks to come out there, but we should give priority to, organizations here, even at the school, the school district and local community organizations, to do fundraisers in terms of like selling food or things like that. It gives them an opportunity to make money. And of course, I would like to see a system in place where they're legit and we're not just having people out there selling tamales just because they want to, but they actually associated with an organization. I know AYSO would love to be out there doing something in terms of raising money at the same time, and those kind of community organizations. I don't know how the rest of you guys feel. If we're going to give, let's give to our community organizations.
Sure. Councilmember Condon?
You can get a lot of entertainment out of a blue ribbon. I can remember some cities would have bike decorating contests for 4th of July and give different colored ribbons for the winners. Kids love that. And it doesn't cost a lot.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
For some direction, I do think if we could get some entertainment, and I know I talked to Bob, but do you want to hold off what he has to say until the next meeting?
I'd like to package it up and give you some different options on entertainment.
Okay.
I know that Bob has done some research on some cover bands. He's also reaching out to some local bands. One of them has already said, no, it's not something they're interested in doing.
Okay.
So we talked to the school bands. They're out of school, so it's hard to get them there. So we kind of wanted to lay out some other options, but we have done some research on some cover bands.
Okay, and I agree with Mr. Orozco that it would be nice to, the Lions Club has their trailer, then they could come out and serve something to fundraise for either themselves or one of their organizations that they partner with. So that sort of was my goal when I first started talking about this, was trying to get groups to come out and provide food and drink, and rather than bringing in vendors to do that, we bring in community organizations that want to raise some money. So I think that would be a good approach.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a combination of both fundraising as well as street fair that the Chamber of Commerce puts on. I think more the merrier, more of a smorgasbord or buffet of 4th of July stuff, if you will.
Okay. So what we'll do is council will need to determine the level of the show next meeting. And then we'll also let you know who we've talked to, who's interested and who's not. So far, we have confirmation from the Chamber, and I'm certain that the service clubs would be more than happy to participate. So that's, and we're opening up the pool for swim, $1 a person, things like that. So we're trying to keep it low-key with the budget in mind, but we still want to have something that's fun. And then the last thing I wanted to say is I've done some research, and it doesn't look like we need to go out to RFP for the pyro. There is only one company in California that does it, and I think we should patronize them instead of somebody back east. And so to get ahead of the RFP process, it will not be done. Okay.
Mayor, may I ask a question? Is it the same company that does the City of Bannings?
It's the only one in California, and if I remember correctly, they're out of Rialto, Bob?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, it's Pyro Spectacular.
Yeah,
out
okay.
of Rialto. I remember when they blew up. I lived there.
That's why.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, and then the last thing I have is the next agenda. I wanted to run through what you're going to see. I'm sorry, let me back up. The Joint Water District meeting that we talked about at the wastewater treatment plant. April 25th was on our calendar. So far, Joe Zoba has responded, and April 25th is not available for him. He's recommending that he and his board meet with us in the Water District on May 5th, which is a Thursday. And so we will, to my knowledge, Nicole, we haven't heard from Beaumont Cherry Valley Water District yet. So just to keep that on your radar, we're looking at May 5th, and it will be over at the Water District again. So the April 19th agenda, we have several items. Hearing officer appeal, the return of the sign code update regarding non-commercial signs, weed abatement contracts. Those are our annual contracts where we solicit all of the eligible contractors in the area to do our weed abatement. It's kind of like our tow list where we just draw down from each contractor, but council approves the contracts prior to doing that. We were presented with a petition from Improvement Area 7B, and they had asked that we come back in April, so it will be on the April agenda. We're hoping, if not the 19th, the first meeting in May, that we do a third quarter update to you on finance, so a third quarter report. We did a first quarter, we did a mid-year. It's time to do the third quarter, and that's part of the budget process. And then at that time, Milana is hopeful that she'll have the March bank recs done. We will return with a draft of the CFD policies at council's request. The city attorney has finished review of the pre-engineering agreement with Union Pacific as part of the quiet zone that Mr. Lash spoke about. Union Pacific and Mr. Lash and I met, and step one is a deposit of about $10,000 from the city and council approving this agreement, so we'll bring that to you. There will be a condition of approval amendment to Rolling Hills Industrial Park, an update on the Economic Development Committee. We will be asking council to ratify the committee members that have been chosen, several purchase orders, several RFPs on consent. We will also be presenting to you 3 brand-new police officers that we've hired, and the last one will actually start that day, so we're going to bring all 3 of them together to you as part of the presentations at the meeting. The contract award for the user fee study should be finalized by then, and then we're also going to bring back staff's recommendations on the $2,000 that the church donated to the city. And I think that's all I have.
We have a public speaker?
Yes, we do have one.
I'll open a public comment at 9:41.
Deanna Plum?
Yes. Hello, I'm Annie. I've been with the city. I've been coming here a while. My turn to talk. This is my time of the year that I do a lot of events with the city. I do a lot of stuff with the chamber for the events. I have several businesses with Beaumont. So this time of year, this is going to be a hard time this year to not have the concert in the park, because I do 2 booths every year for market night. So it'll be different not seeing our city every Wednesday night. So I was talking with Sherry about 4th of July, if we could really do the market night and the fireworks, especially this year too, looking at it being a Monday night. Most people, it's a 3-day weekend. They have to go to work on Tuesday, most likely. They will not go out of town. They will be hanging out with us, jumping with my kids that are hanging out and working. All my kids and cousins and brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews are working the jumpers, and I'm over there promoting my salon with the blankets. So I would just really appreciate it, and would like you guys to really consider doing the entertainment, because a lot of the vendors have already come to me too, saying, hey, what are we doing? What are we doing for the summer? Right now, nothing. So even if it's just the one time and having all of us vendors there, I think it would be great. The city looks forward to it. I've missed a lot of family events with other family to hang out with you guys, so I don't want to miss out on it again this year. So if you would really consider that, I think it would be a good idea for our city, especially right now with everything we're going through. It'd keep us together.
Thank you very much for your comment.
No further speakers.
further speakers, I'll go ahead and close public comment at 9:43. And that brings us to City Clerk report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Councilmember White echoes my concern with the Union Bank statements. My focus since the response to the subpoena was received has been to verify that the documents of the subpoena issued to Union Bank were presented. And my concerns come from the public and the media that have directed to the clerk's office some of their concerns. And they primarily concentrate on the term in the subpoena, Exhibit 1, which refers to documents. And it is their opinion, members of the public and media, that documents should include trustee-generated documents such as bank statements and the cost of issuance statements. And I also, though many requisitions were seen on those documents, do not see a bank statement including those cost of issuance statements for each bond listed in Exhibit 1. It's my opinion that whether the city has any of those documents are really irrelevant. We were asked for documents relating to these bonds, and I don't see them, and that's my opinion. However, this report was done before Councilmember White made his future agenda item proposal. So at this point, I'd like to just continue my communication with Ms. Taylor, Mr. Suris, and Mr. Pinckney, and just kind of go about it so I can respond to some of the public inquiries, appropriately. Yeah, I thought I'd mention that since I wrote that up before the discussion took place. Okay, but that's all.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yes, and Ms. Bingham has her request to speak.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open up public comment at 9:45.
Judy Bingham, 115 Minnesota. If you wonder why my patience is wearing thin, it's because I still don't have my public records request from September 1st, 2015. If you think what he gave me on that thumb drive is sufficient, it is not. And our city clerk knows exactly what documents I have been asking for all these months. There would be approximately 150 to 200,000 pages of the documents that I am requesting. 14 years of bank statements. Did Howard and Copernicus and city employees have a shredding party? I'm just kidding. They are all digital, and I'll bet the Attorney General can get them if Mr. Pinckney can't. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment.
No further speaking.
With that, I'll close public comment at 9:46. Brings us to the city attorney report.
Briefly, Your Honor, following up on that item, as you know, we prepared the subpoenas, and it was in connection with, let me back up for a second. The city has an obligation when Public Records Act requests come in to produce records that are in its possession and custody. It doesn't have a legal obligation to go out and file lawsuits or subpoena third parties to obtain documents that the city doesn't have, but it does have a legal duty to produce what it does have. So the City Council initiated its own investigation into the issue of how bond funds had been used in the past, and it retained the services of Urban Futures to aid it in that investigation of prior use of bond funds. And the consultants, Urban Futures, and city staff attempted to obtain the documents that were needed by Urban Futures in order to complete their analysis. When they weren't successful, as Ms. Urtiaga reported earlier tonight, they involved my office, and so we wrote a letter, I believe in February, to Union Bank and requested documents, and I reported to you on how that process went. And when it was not successful in producing the documents, we came to you with a request to issue a subpoena, or recommendation that you issue a subpoena which described the documents that we were requesting. The city council authorized issuance of the subpoenas. The mayor signed them. They went out for service the next day, and we received almost 14,000 some odd pages of documents, which were hard copy documents. They were not, I want to be really clear on this, they were not produced electronically. People can argue that they should have been kept in electronic or digital format. They were produced in hard copy. So we sent a copy service to expedite the process, and we were able to get the whole thing done from the time that we sent that company out there in a matter of a few days. We obtained the documents, we scanned them, we put them in digital format. In addition to that, we transferred them into a searchable format so that people could search the documents. And we redacted them, and then we provided them to your consulting firm, Urban Futures, so that they could complete their reconciliation to aid you in your investigation of how bond funds were used. Subsequent to that, so Union Bank produced what it produced. Now, we have the right to go back if your consultant determines that there are missing documents that they need to complete their reconciliation and report back to you and the public in terms of how those funds were used. We have the ability to go back to Union Bank and request more documents if they're needed. What I heard tonight was they have not completed their analysis to the point of saying, okay, we need X, Y, and Z. If they get to that point and they need X, Y, and Z, we will go back and we will request them. In addition to that, the council subsequently authorized the issuance of subpoenas to BNY Mellon Bank. As I indicated tonight, those were sent out, and we received 3 boxes of hard copy documents that arrived today. So we are scanning them, putting them in digital format, and we're doing it as quickly as we can, and we'll redact them, and then we will make them available to your consultant and also to the city manager. And if the council so desires, we'll do the same thing we did with Union Bank, and we'll provide a copy to the district attorney's office. Unless anybody objects to that, that's what we will do, is provide a copy of those documents to the DA. And then lastly, on that subject, as I reported earlier, we also sent a written request to the Steiner Group to provide whatever documents they have, and as I reported, their attorney is sending me a thumb drive. I don't know what's on the thumb drive, and I won't know until we receive it. But when we do, we'll go through the same process, and we'll provide them to your consultant so that they can use them in the reconciliation process that they're conducting to aid you in your investigation. So those are some of the items that we've been working on. In addition to that, we have prepared the Chief of Police agreement. We worked on the Chief of Police contract that the City Council approved. We also worked on the Public Works Director contract. We have, when requested by the City Clerk to aid him in connection with Public Records Act request issues or legal questions, we've provided that assistance, and we do that on an ongoing basis. We've been advising, as needed, the city on any labor and employment issues. As you know, and as we reported when we went into closed session, we're representing the city in connection with a matter involving the Heartland project. We've also worked in the last 30 days on a potential political sign ordinance. In addition to that, we did send a follow-up letter to the district attorney's office regarding the subpoenas that were sent out by the city to keep them informed of what we were doing. We've been advising, as needed, the city in connection with Brown Act compliance issues. As you also know, and as was reported in the closed session agenda tonight, we are representing the city in connection with the Brookfield project. In addition to that, the city has an initiative, a controlled growth initiative that's being circulated. We have no opinion in terms of whether the voters should support that or oppose it, or whether the council should. But what we did do is we provided an informational guide to explain what the process and the applicable laws are, and we provided that to the city so that it would be a resource to not only staff but also members of the public in terms of what the process is with initiatives. We've prepared closed session agenda items and, as you know, advised the City Council in connection with closed session items, which I can't discuss in any detail. We've also represented and aided the city in responding to numerous liability claims and then prepare denials when the claims have been denied. We've also been advising the city regarding the pending WRCOG litigation. You have trial counsel that's now handling your appeal, but we've also been assisting the city in connection with that matter. Obviously, we attend the city council meetings, also attended the joint meeting with the city, other water agencies, special districts, and other cities related to water issues in the region. We've advised the city in connection with questions that have come up regarding the wastewater treatment plant. We also conducted some research regarding a wastewater RFP. We also, I skipped this at the beginning, but we also sent out a subpoena for one of the principals of Urban Logic, David Dillon, and I mentioned earlier our response that we got back on that. And I understand the direction of the council regarding wanting those principals to come before you. We also reviewed and advised the city in connection with an aeration contract. So we've now looked at that contract and advised the city in connection with legal requirements in connection with that. We attended the growth management seminar. We've reviewed the will serve letters that the city has historically used, and we've drafted new will serve letters that we believe better protect the city's interests. We've also prepared the ordinance to amend the city manager removal provisions set forth in the city's municipal code. And we, as you know, on a monthly basis oversee outside attorney services, and we review all of their invoices, and if we believe that there's been any kind of overbilling, we go back to them and we request that they reduce their bills, which they do sometimes. Sometimes there's just an errant double bill for the same entry, or can be a variety of things. In addition to that, there's a matter involving a company by the name of AC Propane, and we are reviewing that matter. And so we've begun reviewing the materials related to a company by the name of AC Propane. We have prepared and updated a form construction services agreement, including preparing general conditions for that agreement for use by the city. And let's see if I have anything else here. And those are the only items that I can really comment on. And then at the next meeting, you'll have a status report, a listing of all the pending litigation matters that the city is involved in.
Thank you very much.
That's my report.
Any questions from council? No public speakers. I'll open and close public comment on this item at 9:57. Then we'll move to item number 8, consent calendar.
Move to approve.
Pull an item.
You want to pull an item?
Yeah, E.
You want to leave for that?
Well, at least not vote for it, so.
So are you going to recuse yourself on that item since it involves you? Okay,
do
so
I have to actually leave, or can I just recuse myself from voting?
I would, if you're pulling it, you should recuse yourself and step out of the room. So
just in case my colleagues had questions.
Yeah, I would recuse myself on that item if you're pulling it off the consent calendar. So you can vote on A through D as the consent calendar and then come back and discuss item E.
If they're, okay.
Sure.
I move to approve A through D if there aren't any other.
I'll second.
Okay, so motion by Knight, second by Mayor Lara to approve consent calendar A through D items. Roll call. Councilmember Orozco?
Aye.
Councilmember Knight?
Yes.
Councilmember Condon?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Yes.
Mayor Lara?
Yes. Yes, Councilmember Knight, you have a question?
Oh, no, item number 8E, I thought it was very well done. It's an important event for a council member to be at, and that we have a voice there. And he did a very good job on his travel expense. I was impressed, so I'm in favor of approving this and sending him to SCAG.
Do we have, I mean, is he the SCAG representative? I don't remember. Yes?
Well, last year, we both went, I think, and he was the voting rep,
Okay.
unless you want to appoint someone else.
No, I wasn't sure if we had appointed him as the voting rep.
If Councilmember Orozco is the voting rep, we've contacted SCAG, and the registration for the conference is free, and one-night hotel is comped by SCAG. I know last year we sent 2, so we went ahead and put this item on the agenda, not wanting to assume that council was sending any one individual, so we can reach out to SCAG and let them know if that's the consensus of council.
Do you have a consensus on that?
So the registration fee being comped as well as one-room hotel, is that considered in his
No.
travel?
No.
So it would be less the
Correct.
registration fee and one night of hotel?
Correct. It would be the mileage, and I think they also feed them. Let me look. I have to refresh my memory. So it would be, so the $250 would be deducted, and so it would only be the mileage. And then he has the option of staying one night. So if he does spend the night, then the mileage would be reduced, because it would only be one way there and one way back, as opposed to back and forth.
So I will move to approve the travel expense statement. I know he understands what the not to exceed.
I'll second that.
446. But assuming that we're going to get registration and one night of hotel discounted off of that.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve travel expense. Mayor Pro Tem White, second by Councilmember Condon.
Just to clarify, the dollar amount is $449.68.
No, actually, it is the $350, $368. The original form was filled out with meals per diem, and so we deducted that off, and we didn't change it.
So it's $353?
Correct. And the $353 currently, as it stands, does not include lodging.
Okay.
So it would only be less than $250.
Okay.
So do we have not to exceed amount, or just...
Well, let me add, so then the lodging is in the travel expense?
No, it's not, because he was going to drive back and forth every day.
Okay. So so let me restate that. I move that we approve $353.68 less any discounts we get for him being a voting member.
I second that.
Okay. All right.
Changed motion.
With that, we'll take roll call. Councilmember Knight?
Yes.
Councilmember Condon?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Yes.
Mayor Lara?
Yes.
So, Your Honor, would you like me to read the items that we are going back into closed session on?
Sure.
Okay, so the items that we're going back into closed session on include the late add item, which is conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code, Section 54956.9D1, which is one case, Morgan versus City of Beaumont, case number RIC 1118540. And then, in addition to that, item B on the agenda, in the closed session agenda, personnel matters, evaluation of interim city manager pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B. Item C, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. City designated representatives, Mayor Mike Lara and Councilmember Orozco. Unrepresented employee, interim city manager. Item D, consideration of appointment, employment of city manager pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B. And then also, item E, conference with legal counsel, Ray, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4, and 2 or 3. And there are 3 potential cases on that item, and those are the items that we're going back into closed session on, and we will report out to the public after the closed session, and the public is entitled to remain until that report out if they desire to do so.
So we'll adjourn back into closed session at 10:04.